So GTV, we're ready to get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting of the Goffstown Planning Board, Thursday, July 22nd, 2021. Where's the agenda tonight? I'm supposed to have.
No, you already have it.
That is the agenda? Okay. I thought I was looking for something else. Okay. So we normally begin with introductions from all the board members as we go through the room, and we will start with Joanne.
Joanne, Deputy Planning and Economic Development Director.
Carlos Adams, Select Board Representative.
Gail LeBrecq, alternate and recording secretary.
Philip Devanza.
Tim Redmond.
David Pierce, and alternate.
Karen Hughes.
My name is Barbara Griffin.
I'm Jim Raymond.
And we have a board member, Kimberly Pease, on the phone. Could you identify yourself, Kimberly, please?
I hope not. Kimberly? It doesn't look like anything's needed.
Oh, it just
The
turned
lights
green.
just turned green. They were red.
Kimberly, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Kimberly, could you please identify yourself for the record?
I'm sorry, what?
Could you please identify yourself for the, as we go around the room and identify board members?
Sure.
Now.
Now, aye. This is Kimberly Pease. I'm the vice chair.
And Kimberly is not attending tonight. She was unavailable, so she is attending by phone for the record. Okay. The first order on the agenda is under correspondence and action items. It's the minutes of the June 24th meeting. We had them at our last meeting. We did not act on them.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Barbara, seconded by Jim Raymond. Any discussion on the minutes or corrections? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Kimberly?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Chair votes yes. Thank you. Motion passes. And the second set of minutes are from last meeting of July the 8th. Any corrections or amendments to the minutes?
I move we approve.
Motion by Jim to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Karen. Any discussion on the motion or the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I
Motion
abstain.
Oh, you are
I abstain.
abstaining from
Kimberly and I are abstaining.
2 abstentions. You get that? Thank you. Okay. The next item will request the town engineer to step up to the table if she is here. I thought I saw her in the back. It's about a surety for Ernie's. In case you want to speak to it. So it's a request to accept a cash surety of $12,841 until the parking lot paving and striping get completed for Ernie's excavation on 39 Laurier Street, map 17, lot 184-1. And we were provided with a tracking form or not?
Yeah, we do.
Was it in our packet?
It is.
It was in our packet. Okay. So do you have anything to discuss about this, or you would like to?
Sarah Wardy, town engineer. Yes, so Ernie requested just kind of a delay. He'd like to get into his shop, but was hoping to wait until kind of the end of the summer, beginning of the fall to pave, because he has a lot of big trucks going in and out. And in the heat of the summer, they can really cause damage to pavement, especially initially. You want to give it some time to cure. So he asked if he could put up a surety for the remaining paving and striping. And we reviewed the estimate provided by Earl and were agreeable to it.
So that you're recommending this?
Yes.
Okay. Questions, Phil?
Thank you. The third page on that, they talk about the core sample And is
We-
that,
It was just, I was really only including that for the estimate part. That was a suggestion that Earl said, if you don't want to put up a surety, we could try this, and I explained that that would open a can of worms. So that is not on the table, that is not what is recommended. I sent them an
Okay.
email to make sure
Alright.
Ernie is okay with putting a surety up, and he plans on topping it in this fall.
okay, thank you.
Jim, I don't have any experience with these words. Could you explain to everyone what a surety is?
Well, it's just a guarantee, it's a form of guarantee, that's a little bit of a letter of credit where you can, under statute, we can require cash that we hold instead of a letter of credit or a bond. In my mind, nothing is better than cash.
What is a surety then?
Surety is a guarantee of performance.
Monetary guarantee.
Well, it can be a letter of credit or a bond.
This is,
He submitted.
This is
Yeah.
cash, yeah,
Okay.
this is the best
Just
there
making
is.
sure we all
Yep.
understand.
It's money. Don't say no to money if, compared to letters
Okay.
of credits or bonds.
Okay. Have anything else for us on this matter, sir?
No.
Board members, any questions or discussion? Barbara?
When would we have normally expected him to do the top coat? And is that expense significant or not?
So, and I kind of explained this to Ernie. I understand it from both sides. Typically, we would only really do the surety and the bonding when it's extenuating circumstances
Right.
like the winter. However, having paved my driveway and parked on it and knowing what trucks can do to your driveway, I understand wanting to try to protect your investment. And we also let McDonald's bond their landscaping in the middle of the summer, which we would usually only do that over the winter too. So I felt like, it's a good local business. He's going about things the right way. I think it's a reasonable request.
I'm not questioning the surety, I'm questioning that we're not getting a surety for the top coat, because if he's waiting till the fall, you and I know he's probably waiting till the spring to do the top coat, because that's what we do.
No, but we are.
It says if we do not need to bond the top coat, the following is my estimate, and that estimate is $12,841, and that's the amount that's on it.
Is the base coat done?
Yes.
So we're
And it's striped.
talking about the top coat paving.
Just the
Okay,
top coat.
all right.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
That
Okay.
is all
And
it
the
is.
All right, I
Striping.
misread it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how did you arrive at the price per ton, the 107?
Earl used Bedford's published numbers because we didn't have published numbers.
Okay. I read that, but I just think it's low, that's all. Okay. Money's money. All right. Any other questions or discussion on the matter? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote on this.
I move that we approve the request to bond the top coat as proposed.
Motion by Jim.
I'm not to
approve-
bond, to provide a cash surety, I'm sorry.
Motion by Jim to approve the request,
I'll second it.
seconded by Phil Devanza. Discussion on the motion. Kimberly, you can just chime in when you vote, please.
Okay.
All those in favor of approving this request from Ernie's Excavation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Motion passes. So you can forward that to Ernie,
Great, thank you all.
okay? Okay, we have a letter from Gaetan Benner stressing her opposition to the laundromat application on Mast Road on map 18, lot 17 and 16A. It is provided to us in the packet tonight. And the second letter from Gaetan Benner stressing her opposition to the laundromat application on the same lot. So, is that the one that's on the table tonight, Joanne? Not in our packet? This one that's on the table?
Yes.
Okay. So both of the letters have been entered into the record, and all members have received it. Okay, the first application tonight is an old business application.
Before we get there, Tim, I'm looking at next month's, next meeting. We have if we have to postpone or continue any matters, is next meeting have capacity for additional items, may as well have the analysis now, or if we have to
Right.
postpone, do we want to push them back
I
further?
would suggest that they go to the first meeting in September because the agenda for the 12th has closed today because of vacation schedules.
Yeah. I mean, we can continue them at it to that meeting, but we don't want to do that if it's already a busy night.
Right.
Hi,
That's-
I'm sorry. I need to interrupt for a moment. This is the interpreter. Can you hear me?
Yes, go
You
ahead.
mean The laundromat is on Hanger Street? This is Norm.
We haven't gotten to that application. We stopped to take care of one other business item. Could you hold us for a second, please?
Okay.
Okay, did you hear me?
She said, okay.
Yeah, but you were talking about a laundromat first. Now
I,
you're confusing me.
well, we started to move to the next application, and one member asked about something that we hadn't completed, so we were gonna complete something first that we had already started to talk about. All right, we'll move that item to the end of the meeting, Jim.
Tim, the prior item was just
But our
recognizing that
first
we had
meeting was
received
the first
correspondence,
part of
that's
the
all it was.
agenda. You were supposed to be first. You're skirting around the issue.
No, we are not skirting around the issue. These are on our agenda. We're taking them in the order that's written on our agenda. So please be patient. We will be with you in just a couple of moments.
I want to complete that
Where's
discussion,
my
so.
list? Where's the list?
Patience, please, patience.
I don't understand.
Can I speak?
Please, Joanne, could you try to explain this, what's going on?
Yes. Hi, this is Joanne. So the normal procedure for the planning board agenda is the correspondence and the minutes, and then the first application. The laundromat is the first application. The board is just going through their normal list of procedures for correspondence and minutes, and next they will get to the laundromat. So it'll just be another minute or so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Jim, could you please finish?
Well, the question is,
Now
if,
told me that others was first, so I don't understand.
if matters come up to be continued, it will be a discussion point, and we might as well decide now, because it looks like a
You have
full
to understand
agenda.
that I have an interpreter.
It looks like a full agenda on the
Forget about
12th.
that.
So if we're going to continue, are we going to be continuing to the 12th or not? Because sometimes we just load up our agenda for the next meeting by doing that. I don't want to make that mistake.
If I could also say that by the time if we were to receive any new material or information, it wouldn't be very timely because the packets for your meeting go out the first Thursday of the month, which is only a week and a half from now. So just so you're aware.
We could also use the old procedure where we'd accept an application, find it complete, and continue it to
Okay,
the
I'm not
next
talking
meeting.
about what's on the agenda. I'm just talking about anything tonight that's we're
I
going to
understand, but if it
continue.
got continued to that meeting, we could take these next applications, accept them, and
Okay, well,
and
that's a
move it to the next
discussion.
meeting.
You don't need to answer it. We tend to get there and then say, well, how busy is the meeting going to be?
Okay.
And answer it ahead of time.
Sarah?
Another thing to consider might be when the next sewer commission meeting is, since that application still needs to go to the sewer commission.
All right. All right, so are you ready to go to old business now,
I am.
members? Okay. So we are going to go to old business now, which is a laundromat application, map 18, lot 17 and 16A. Site plan conditional use permit. Joanne, could you please give a brief overview of where we are?
Yes, excuse me. So this application has been before the board several times, and since the board met with the applicant, I don't know, a week or two, probably 3 weeks or four weeks ago, there were some outstanding issues, as well as the board has not yet discussed any of the conditional use permits which need to be taken care of. So there's a list in the staff comments. Let me just get you the page number. Beginning. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
This
the
is a long
CUP you're
one.
talking about? It's page 8.
Page 8. But, no, I'm sorry, page 14, where it
The
says
actual-
outstanding issues.
Okay.
Some of these, are outstanding because they haven't been shown or they haven't been addressed yet, but some of them are not very complicated. However, the board still needs to go through this list as well as talk about a few other things. I did receive from Attorney Sullivan the cross easements today. I do not have an updated plan showing the cross easements, and I didn't want to leave it on the table for the board because I knew you wouldn't have time to read it. So I will include it in the next packet. But just so you're aware, we do have that item, and Attorney Sullivan has provided that to me. There's some questions about the vents on the outside of the building, and that's sort of a catch-22 because the fire department is saying that it could be a fire hazard depending on what's on the exterior of the building. They have addressed that by changing what's on the exterior to, instead of shrubs and plants, there's now going to be crushed gravel. However, the plans have not been updated to show that. But the fire department can't really review exactly how the vents are going to work until they have the building plans. And they wouldn't normally have the building plans until they apply for a building permit. So, so that's something that has to be worked out between the fire department and the applicant.
Mr. Chair, I have a question on that. Want me to wait until we go through all the list, or may I ask it now on the vents?
Just say what you got to say, Liz.
Well, there's an issue on vents on building code compliance, which isn't our jurisdiction. And the applicant represented last time he would comply with code requirements. But we look at other matters, including aesthetics and what it's going to look like. We don't know that yet, and that is within our jurisdiction. So I think can't just say it's going to comply with code and answer our questions.
Right. And I think they could give us more information than they've given us, which is not much at all, really. But I don't think they could go to the level of what the fire department is looking for at this point. So this was found complete on May 27th, and I just wanted to remind the board that if this is continued this evening, it would probably be a good idea to ask the applicant to extend the 65-day deadline because we're getting closer. The other things are, let me just go through this here. So they're asking for 3 conditional use permits. One is for the existing driveway. They're making some modifications, and that driveway is on Joffrey Street. They're making some modifications to the driveway, and I wasn't sure if the board would request a conditional use permit because it is existing. The modifications are not changing the location of it, and the reason that they would need a conditional use is because it's too close to the intersection. So I'm not sure if the board wants to ask for that or if they find that it's grandfathered even with the minor changes. The second one is the new driveway that they're adding on Hague Street. This driveway takes the place of the driveway that had been in that area for the existing house that's now being converted into the laundromat. And that driveway needed to be 125 feet from the intersection. That would be the minimum amount. So there's a conditional use permit needed for that. And then the third one is that driveways shall be located at least 100 feet from other existing driveways, and that new driveway that I just spoke of is parallel to the neighbor's driveway, which is in the residential, for a residential house lot, and they are too close together. Now, Mr. Mitchell quoted another section of the zoning ordinance, 7.5.5, which allows for driveway separation alternatives. And you can find that on page 8, where it states, in order to provide for more flexible alternatives to satisfy the parking requirements, the planning board may issue a conditional use permit for parking arrangements. And he goes through that whole section and mentions the driveway access. So I thought it would be a better idea to request the conditional use permit versus a waiver under 7.5.5, but that's entirely up to the board. After that whole paragraph, there are the criteria are listed for the conditional use permits that have been requested. So those items have not been addressed yet. As I stated before, we did receive the cross easements today. A note will also be needed, will be added to the plan. At the last meeting, the replacement vacuums were discussed, and the board had requested details of what the site itself would look like with those vacuums on the site. We don't have a plan or even a photo or a rendering of any sort showing that yet. The vacuums in the rear, I was told today, but he wasn't 100%. Attorney Sullivan stated that he didn't think those were changing at all, but he wasn't 100% sure, so Mr. Mitchell will need to clear that up. The ones in the front, as there was a conversation at the last meeting when they were here, they were taking the cement stations, eliminating them, taking the barrel of the vacuum motor and putting it on some sort of a pole, and the pole would be 12 feet high, and then those long arms would come off of it. But again, I have nothing showing exactly what it will look like. Going to the parking, so the laundromat lacks 3 required spaces. The site itself has 5 spaces for the laundromat, where 8 are required, and one of the purposes of the cross easement is to allow for the laundromat to use the 3 spaces that are located on the car wash's property. And so those 3 spaces would not be designated strictly for the laundromat, but they would be shared. They would not have vacuums in front of them. They would just be regular parking spaces. The architectural drawings, we have some smaller sets, but we need to have it included in this plan set, and that obviously will happen at the end of the process. There was a question about the noise level from the dryer vents and the vacuums, and that hasn't really been discussed any further. And I'm not sure, I think they had said the hours of operation will be the same as the car wash. But I can't remember off the top of my head what those hours are. 6 to 9. Okay, and then again, back to the list of outstanding issues. We're still waiting for a drainage maintenance agreement. I discussed today with Attorney Sullivan about a truck turning model plan showing access with Goffstown's largest truck. We don't have that yet. He didn't think it was needed, but I think further discussion will certainly be needed on that one. Let's see. signage on the plan. There was some additional signage that was recommended by Steve Pernoff a few months ago, and I don't know if that's been included on the plan. I'd have to double check that. And I think that was it.
So we're gonna have board discussion on this before we do anything, so Phil, your
Yeah,
question?
just a question, Joanne. You mentioned eliminating, my understanding was eliminating some plantings where the dryer vents were going?
So currently, there's like existing plantings in front of the house.
Okay, well, the reason why I had the question was on the waivers about the landscaping. They said that there was no, that there were enough plantings to satisfy. Is that going to affect
So
that statement of the number one on the waivers?
they may have to put some plantings on the other side of the building to replace those plantings. They originally asked for a waiver when, way back in the very beginning, and the board, this is going back even when it was the coffee shop, and the board wanted to see a plan of the existing plantings, and I compared that to our regulations, and they basically met the regulations, so I told them it really probably wasn't necessary that they asked for a waiver, because, you know, they met it, but now they're making this change.
Okay, so that would affect number one on the waivers up on here.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I have a follow-up question.
Karen?
Did this go before the sewer commission?
So, to my understanding, I spoke with the secretary for the sewer commission, and they were sent over to be placed on the agenda, but they spoke with staff, Corey. They never made it to the agenda, and I think Corey has told them since then that they need to go to the agenda. Again, I had a discussion with Attorney Sullivan today, and all of our other approvals include a template condition basically stating that all local and state approvals, federal as well, have to be in hand before the plans are signed. So he said, well, that's what I thought, but I told him that as a caveat, this board wanted them to go to Manchester Water and Goffstown Sewer because this type of project would use additional water and sewer.
Right, which is why we continued it to a date certain.
That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
So that has not happened yet. And again, I think they want to explain their side of it.
And then have they had any communication with Manchester Waterworks?
Not to my knowledge. I did ask, again, I've only talked to Attorney Sullivan, and I did ask him if they've met with them, and he didn't believe so, but he wasn't sure. He had to check with Mr. Mitchell.
And then the last one is about the parking. So if this was one lot, the car wash and the laundromat, what would be required for parking?
It goes by use, so it's the same amount of parking.
Yeah, I
So
tried
they
to-
would have ample parking for
Whatever
both
was it.
if it were one
My-
lot.
Your question is, it was a standalone lot?
If it was a standalone lot, what would be the
With the
required
two
parking?
uses, they would have ample parking.
No, she wants to know, what is the parking requirement for the laundromat if it was on its own lot?
No.
No, it's the
No.
same as it is now.
No, if this was one existing lot,
There would be enough parking.
there would be enough parking, because it looks like there's 24 spaces plus whatever the bays are, is that correct?
Yes.
Right, which we
Okay.
can.
So there would be sufficient parking if it was one lot with the laundromat and the car wash?
Correct.
Any other board questions?
Right.
Barbara?
Joanne, I get the waiver application. I have my stuff from the last time that was logged in on February 19th, and I see the requested conditional use permit. I'm sure I'm missing it. Do we have something from the applicant on the CUP request?
Yes, you probably received that a while back. I think Patty was just hoping everyone kept their
Well, I did keep my
packets.
package. That's why I've got this.
They did, I know
I've
they
got-
submitted,
Okay, I just don't have.
maybe
then
they
I
have a
just-
copy tonight that they can read through.
All right, okay.
They do.
They did, I just couldn't find it anywhere. All right, and so you pointed out about a couple of things that the board asked for. So visuals was something that had been asked for in regards to the arms.
Yeah.
And actual decibel representations.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me ask you, you talked to Attorney Sullivan today?
Yes.
Have you talked to the applicant at all between the last time we heard this, which I think was 2 meetings ago, to today?
No, I hadn't heard from him at all. So I reached out with my comments, which said, I haven't heard from him. I think I sent them, I think it was Tuesday, I'm not positive, and I still haven't heard anything. So I've only dealt with Attorney Sullivan this past time.
Okay. And if this gets continued, we either need a waiver of the 65-day clock or we need to act on the application.
Right,
Okay, so the applicant understands that.
right.
Right.
In your discussion of the conditional use permit request, the first one about the existing driveway access onto Joffrey Street, I would only say it would be exempt from a conditional use permit if they were not changing it. Once you change it, then it is no longer grandfathered, in my opinion.
Okay, that's what I thought, so that's why I included it, but I wanted the board to make that final decision.
That's just my opinion, that's not a board opinion, but once you change a grandfathered condition, it's no longer a grandfathered condition.
It would be helpful if Patty reminds us to bring the...
Well, I think we need to have a discussion about this at the end of the meeting, please. We won't talk about it now.
My memory from meeting to meeting is about the
All
same.
right.
I didn't realize there was another packet on it.
So normally we
I
ask
saved
the...
it.
That's what happens when these things go on forever.
I know Mr. LaFond is on the phone and wants to speak, but normally we ask for the applicant to make any sort of a presentation, and board members can ask questions prior to the public hearing beginning, which is where Mr. LaFond would be our first speaker, obviously. So at this point, I would like to invite the applicant to the table to say anything that you have to say, or I don't want to have a 2-hour discussion on all these unfinished items, because in my opinion, I think a lot of this stuff should have been worked out before we came back to our meeting tonight. So I would like to make sure we keep this short and sweet tonight and not drag us all through the mud with a bunch of stories about decibels on vacuum cleaners without actually having the information actually in our hand and photographs of what they're going to look like. Gentlemen, please.
Thank you. My name is Eric Mitchell. My office prepared these plans, and attorney Andy Sullivan is here. To give you an update of where we are with the project, we have spoken, we have filed for a sewer permit with the town, and it's supposed to be on the agenda for the 10th of August. We submitted that. It was only submitted yesterday, but it has been submitted. We looked at the flow, and so that part has been at least submitted. As far as water, I had conversations with the Manchester Water on Tuesday on a different project, actually in Auburn, and asked them what they needed to have for information on that. That's already an existing facility, but they're adding a couple buildings. And they said all they need is to know how big the service lines are going to be, and they don't determine that. They said that in this case, the plumber would have to determine what the amount of flow would have to be and what the service would be. And once we determine that, just give it to them so they know. So it's nothing, in my understanding, that a situation like this, we do have a 3/4 inch service, which we know would have to be bigger for the laundromat because it's only more like a domestic service. We will have to have that determine how big that would be for the laundromat purposes. But Manchester Water says that you tell us what you're putting in, and then we'll just, that will be that. In terms of the fire department, I met with the fire department yesterday to discuss specifically the questions and concerns about the vents coming from the dryers. And it was indicated to me that those specifications and whatever needs to be done would be handled at the time of a building permit, not at the, as far as the fire department is concerned, it will be handled at the time of the building permit. The location of where we put those in, we discussed at the last meeting that we would be putting a stone drip edge along the edge of the building. They'd come out. We verified that they would be about coming out of the building about 5 feet high, going down vent to about 30 inches off the ground, and that's where the exit would be. We also did find out that the, and again, we can give you, well, I don't know if we can give you the documentation, because the applicant asked the dryer company and the vent company what the decibels were, and nobody could give them an answer because they said that there is no noise coming from the dryer vents. All the noise that comes from the dryer is all inside the building. It's not from the vents themselves. And if we need a statement for that, that we can. I'm not saying that there's no noise at all that you might not hear, but it is not it's not a loud noise. The area where the vents are coming out, there is a walkway there going to the front door. The walkway will come out. The front door will come out, so there'll be no door there, so nobody will be walking by there, and there is no landscaping there, so that doesn't change the amount of landscaping that we do have on the site. In terms of the fire trucks and access, we do have to confirm this with the fire department, but the site itself, it's our understanding that even though the access to get in and out, the ambulance and whatever is fine, but if there was a fire, the strong likelihood is that all fire trucks would be parked either on Mass Road or on Hague Street or Joffrey Street, that they wouldn't be pulling into the site because the driveways are very close to the buildings, and they don't get that close to the buildings. But we can get confirmation from them on that. We do have conditional use permits, as was stated, that we had asked for, and it's important that we take a look at those so that we can continue with the project. What I would say too is that the vacuums that we talked about, that to clarify or just to confirm, there's no additional vacuums. Original applications may have had additional vacuums. There will be no additional vacuums out there than what we have. The preference would be to put in the booms. We had submitted documentation with our early applications, pictures of the booms, and which had some dimensions and that on it. Maybe you never got that, but we did have, that's part of the picture right there. That we do have, and as was stated, it's about 11, the boom itself is about 11 feet off the ground. The pole is a little bit less than that, but the motor itself can be mounted anywhere from the ground up. So the motor itself would probably only be about 4 or 5 feet off the ground, not up at the 12 foot, because then in order to take the material out of that and to clean it out, you'd have to get a ladder, so that wouldn't happen.
Can I make an interject right there?
Yep.
We can represent that again, the motors will be the same, the vacuums will be the same, the heights will be no higher than they are now. So even if it's put on a boom, it will still be no higher than the existing, just for existing, okay. In terms of decibels, there's no change in decibels because it's the same vacuums. The actual pole is about 9.5 feet, but there's an arc over it. If you go to the apex, I don't know, geometry, the top of the arc, that might bring it to 12.5, 13 feet, then it comes down again.
Thank you.
And as I stated, conditional use permits we'd have to take a look into. Most of the items on the list that partly that was read, and also what's in here, we believe are conditions of approval that would be met with staff under most all conditions, such as a drainage maintenance agreement and things like that. So a lot of that is things that are conditions precedent that would be made. We think that the plans, even though some little details that you might want to look at, is we can provide some more, but I think my understanding, in my opinion, is I think it's something that staff could address, and if they don't want to do that, that's up to them, or if you don't want the board to do that. One other additional thing is that there was questions about the flow of traffic in front of the building going two-way traffic where the cars are exiting the car wash. We're able to confirm that the cars do not sit outside of the car wash. There was a concern that cars would be drying as they come out and having a problem with the two-way traffic because they would go into the drive aisle where the traffic would be coming and going. This particular facility was changed a while back so that all of the cars for both washing and drying are done inside the building. And that in the wintertime, the doors are actually closed, they're open in the summertime. But if a car cannot continue to go into the building any further unless the car in front of it actually fully exits. So there's not a condition where a car can be partway out and be a problem. Cars can't go in unless all the cars had actually gone out. With that, there is a space about 10 feet in front of the building that's concrete, which would take up the front of the car as it's pulling out. But as I stated, the car is fully washed and dried, sitting still inside the building before it leaves. So it's not a case where the cars are going through a dryer and drying as they're pulling forward. They're sitting still and the dryer goes around the car. So there should not be an issue with any of the two-way traffic in front of the building with cars coming and going out of the car wash. In that respect, it would not be much different than anybody pulling out of a parking spot in a parking lot where it has two-way traffic in front of it. With that, I can answer any questions, and Attorney Sullivan is here as well. I don't know if he has additional comments or not.
Just not to beat a dead horse again, as Eric mentioned at the beginning, the preference of the applicant is to exchange the structure of the vacuum by putting them on these booms. That will allow more parking. That is the preference. It will not increase the decibel level. It doesn't change any mechanical apparatus. But we can live as is. But it's a better format both for the business and I think for the public to provide additional parking, even though it's not needed, by having the booms, because that allows the little cement barriers in between the current parking to disappear and add more parking. So again, that is the preference, but we're at the pleasure and the mercy of the board here. We want to get this done.
On the outstanding issues, there's number one, to show the easement associated with the existing force main. Is that for the sewer that leaves the site as it is now? Because I don't remember even discussing this at a prior meeting unless I was sleeping during it.
I don't either, but it's on the issues.
That's Sarah's comment.
Okay, so
Comment number 1.
So Sarah, could you please explain that comment to us?
Andy, can you take that microphone in the middle and just put it down towards the phone? Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Could you come up to the front, please, so that they can hear you at Mr. LaFawn's house?
It's on page 12.
Page 12.
Oh, here,
I didn't get that.
this one.
So that actually was a comment from back when Mike Yurgo was reviewing this plan. It is sewer related, so
So you don't have any information on it?
I do not.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. So that's going to have to be something you have to look into, Joanne, from Corey, what that was about. You can probably check with Mike or...
Mr. Chairman, I may be able to address that slightly. Initially, the plans did not show the force main coming from the building, which we have since added that. And I think part of the concern is the force main itself goes from the car wash building over to the 2 Hague Street, which is a laundromat. So it does cross property lines, but it's servicing only the laundromat. And I think they wanted to make sure there was an easement between the two properties so that in the future the car wash can maintain that force main. And I believe Attorney Sullivan in the cross easements that he has included that so that the laundromat has, the car wash has a right to continue to have their force main go across the laundromat property.
But your sewer plan on page, on your site plan, sheet 1 of 8, shows the sewer solely on the car wash site, exiting and going out to Mass Road. It doesn't cross the
Yes, I see that, just when the question was asked. I did see a copy of an as-built plan of the force main, and I can tell you that the force main itself actually does go and turns and goes, even though it's close to the right-of-way, does go on to the property next door. So we have to amend the location that we have, which is the approximate location, but it does go on to Hague Street. The force main does. And that's the purpose of the easement.
And it exits into the sewer line that's on Hague Street?
Yes,
The 8-inch line that's shown on your plan?
yes, I believe it does.
Okay. All right. Who has a question? Karen?
I'm just wondering what you're asking us to do tonight.
If I may, address all the conditional use permits. If I have my dreams, all the other conditions that can be addressed post-approval, so when we get approval, will be addressed, and we'll work with the staff to tweak whatever they want in the easements and et cetera, and get them the proof from the sewer department, the water department, et cetera.
Are you willing to waive the 65 days in order for this to be continued to another night, or are you saying you want us to vote on this tonight?
I'd like to, but I don't know. I guess I'll reserve that if I may, and see how this meeting goes. I don't know the answer. You're asking me to put the cart before the horse here.
Please, Barbara.
Thank you. We do have a new set of plans that came in our packet that were received on June 17th. So I note that on the site plan, you've added the parking space numbers so we can keep track of what's being counted, and that there's a no left turn sign onto the exit to New Hampshire to 114A. I'm not a plan geek, even though I've sat here long enough, I should be. What else, if anything, has changed on these plans from the prior set?
We submitted a response letter.
No, I'm talking about the plan set.
Right, the response letter addresses the changes that were made on the plan.
Oh, there is?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know if you have it, it was dated June 17th. And it talks about a lot of things that were changed on the plan. Generally speaking, I can tell you that there were...
We don't have it.
The traffic things, we had put the sign on, left turn, no left turn, that was required by the traffic engineer, as opposed to right turn only on the other side. He wanted it on the other, on the side that we have it.
Yep.
We have a solid stop bar on Joffrey Street of the exit to the property. So instead of just one stop bar, it's one going all the way across. So they know that they have to stop right there. I believe that we've reduced the amount of vacuums that we had out there, because we had more vacuums proposed before. Those were reduced, and I'm not sure if a lot of the other stuff may have been more, cleanup. There were some plans that we had photos on sheet number 3, and some of the photo symbol was shown on some of the other plans, which we had to change. So signage was added, and I believe that's a lot. We had also put in the elevation plans, I believe, were put into the plan set as a separate, so that...
By that, you mean architect?
Yeah, the architectural plans, I'm sorry. So, but we've added the...
Oh, but we had the architectural plans from before. They were
You
just
did
added
before,
to...
they just added
You just added it
large
to...
sizes, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because we didn't get that. Okay. If I can have a follow-up. The landscape, so we're talking about the fact that it's going to be gravel where the dryer vents exit. What side of the building are the dryer vents exiting on?
They are on the Hague Street side, closest to the proposed parking.
Okay. That's what's got me confused when you say the Hague Street side. I don't understand, because Hague Street goes lengthwise. So if I look at, where's your architectural?
He's going to put a plan up, Barbara.
Can we have the
plan in the front room so the public can see it too when he's talking about it?
Can you put it against the wall then, Eric, so that everyone can kind of,
So we
you have to put it flat against the wall, unfortunately.
I have this pretty color-coded thing, and this is the edge that comes out and faces Hague Street.
Correct.
So
That
where,
is current entrance that's being blocked off.
Right.
Got a walkway going to it.
right,
So it's going to be to your right,
over here?
over there.
Yeah.
Could you turn that for the, turn that for the gallery and show the gallery as well?
Yep. So it'll be over in this area here.
All right,
The
because I
bump
wanted to
out
match
is,
it up.
Barbara, the bump out is where the front door was. That
Was,
would be
right, and they're
taken
gonna
away.
close that
Yeah.
off.
Do you have pictures of those?
So it will be, to the right is further, I don't know which way.
Away from 114,
Yeah,
It will be to the
On
left of
Hague
the old
Street.
front door.
Okay.
to the left. Well, all right, because I was asking, because we were talking about landscaping, and they have, so what I'm assuming is on these plans, and this is why I asked what changed, because I sort of was focused on the landscaping, you're still showing landscaping on that side of the building. And we talked about switching it to gravel, and that was discussed last meeting. Frankly, everything we heard tonight so far, we've heard last meeting. There's been really nothing added. So is the landscaping that's going away, obviously will be the bushes in front of the dryer vents, will they be the bushes where the entrance is also?
Any landscaping by the entrance to the building would stay. Those 3 bushes or so we have up against where the vents are, they can be pulled forward towards Hague Street.
All right, I just wanted to get
So we
a
won't decrease the amount of plantings. that
total
we're-
plantings are gonna stay the same, but that's the section that the dryers are coming out on. All right, I am a little, if I can continue, I am a little confused about where we're going with the vacuums now. So, in the previous plan, you had twice as many vacuums as you appear to have now on the existing rear of the site, like parking spaces 17 to 24. So those are now 4 booms, those are the boom structures. And before it was 8, and we talked about, I was confused because the motors do 2, right? So it was the same. And in the front, you've decreased it also. Is that your understanding of what's going on?
Yes, so that the number is 4 in front, 4 in the back, which is the same as what it is existing.
The only preference is we prefer the booms, but we think it's more economical in terms of space.
I have to say that I think we have an experienced representatives of the applicants, and when we ask for visuals, that's usually not something that is confusing to applicants, and people come in with a shot of the building as it exists and then overlay the structure that's proposed. I mean, we did get the boom stuff, and that's why I asked for it. Okay, thank you.
So I'd like to jump back to Barbara's second comment about your landscaping where the dryer vents are going to exit this building. You talked about moving the plants forward. Screening is supposed to screen things. Are those bushes you're going to move forward, are they going to screen those dryer vents, or are they going to be too low to actually screen those dryer vents?
No, I think he's going to move them to a different part of the
He said he just said move them forward.
I think
heard him
he-
say so. He said move them forward.
We are moving forward, so there'll still be landscaping on that side. And there's 2 things that we can do, is either take a look at putting in taller there, so it'll match it, or if necessary, put in a short piece of vinyl fence in front, so you're looking at the building, you don't see the vents at all coming out.
Well, I think that would be a consideration that you should be thinking about, screening the dryer vents if you want to move forward with
We understand
with
with
that
that.
location.
Okay, done.
Except before you do that, I think you should check with the
Fire
fire
department,
department.
because they may have restrictions
Yeah.
on distancing from dryer vents for accessibility reasons.
Or material.
That's it. Or combustible materials. Any other board members? Collis?
Looking at sheet 1 of 8, which is the site plan, Eric or Andy, And I'm concerned with the snow storage. It looks like you're proposing snow storage in spaces 17 through 24. Aren't those vacuum spaces?
They're proposed to be vacuum spaces, but in the wintertime, if you need room to put your snow while the rest of the car wash is working, that's where it would go. But I believe there is a note on the plan that,
Did I miss it?
it's note number 12, that says snow beyond what can be placed in snow storage areas shall be deposited off-site, so that although we have some areas, we have it there. If the applicant believes that those vacuum spaces are needed during the winter and you can't have snow there, then it will be taken off-site.
But isn't this part of the parking calculations, that you can't block parking spaces with snow
Yeah.
storage and maintain your parking calculations?
I think we have, if you look at what we have excess parking spaces from what is necessary.
Well, Joanne, is that a fact?
Yes,
By how many?
so like I said before, the laundromat was lacking 3, and there's 21 required for the car wash, and they have 40 total.
So what's the math?
I can't.
Well, I'm asking you for your opinion on parking.
More than 10.
But
That's because they're counting the bays.
But we always count the bays.
But no, I'm just trying to understand it.
That's just math, I mean, it's just.
Right.
Well, I want to be
so
sure
is-
that the question is answered, that if snow storage is going to be stacked in parking spaces, that those are not part of the calculation, that they have to be maintained.
I don't even think so much that it's, that you're eliminating during those snow times parking spaces, because, you know, obviously nobody's sitting there parking.
Well,
But it's the vacuum cleaners.
Jim, well, based on the math, they have 40, they need 21, so they have 19 extra.
19 extra.
And on this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if they filled up all those spaces with
Okay.
snow, they still have extra parking.
That was
So
my
they meet the
question. Thank you
requirements.
for answering it.
Does that include if you add in the 7, yeah, they would have 1 extra spot if you include the 7 that's required for, or 8 required for.
There's 8 required for the laundromat, but they're only showing 5, so the other 3 are part of the laundromats.
Remember the plan sort of said.
Right, so it would
21.
be, the requirement would be 29, correct? If you did the 21 spaces plus the 8
Right.
for the, okay, thank you.
So, again, I think, I don't think anyone's going to a car wash to park their car and sit there, but they would be taking up some of the vacuum spaces, would not be available if there's snow in front
But
of
that's a
them.
business consideration, it's not a zoning.
Yeah.
And if I could just comment, as a practical matter, this car wash is an ongoing business, and I don't know that the town has ever received complaints about the snow and access to the site in the winter. And Lord knows the traffic queues up at those bays in the winter.
Okay. Any other comments from board members? Questions? All right, then I think that at this time it would be appropriate to open the public hearing.
May we address the conditional
Yeah, I
use
was going to
permits?
say, the CUPs.
Please.
Well, we could address them, we don't have to act on them right now.
No, but they need to make a presentation on them.
Okay. So I'm going to hold off on opening the public hearing for a few minutes until we talk about the conditional use permits. 3 requests.
Thank you. As was stated, we do have what is considered to be 3 conditional use permit requests. One of them is it's actually the same section, but there's 2 different items. Conditional use permit pursuant to section 7.5.5. The Goffstown zoning ordinance permit a driveway access from Hague Street and Joffrey Street as proposed in the plan. This would permit an existing driveway access onto Joffrey Street that is less than 125 feet from the intersection, which is required. This is an existing driveway with 2-way traffic, and the proposed that we have would only have 1-way traffic exit. That's a different one. Yeah. And secondly, to permit the new access driveway that we have coming in off of Hague Street that is closer to 100 feet from an existing driveway. And within 125 feet of the street intersection. On this one, the proposed driveway for lot 16A, which is the laundromat, is adjacent to the existing driveway on lot 15. It will be a one-way enter and will not impede the adjacent lot access to Hague Street. And secondly, the proposed driveway will be a one-way enter and the traffic will not back up onto Hague Street. As far as the conditional use criteria, one criteria is on section 4.1 is that the use is specifically authorized by the ordinance as a conditional use, which is true. 4.2 is that if completed as proposed by the applicant, the development in its proposed location will comply with all requirements of this section and with the specific conditions or standards established by the ordinance for the particular use, which is true. Section 4.3 is the use will be compatible with the neighborhood and the adjoining or abutting uses in the area in which it is located. The properties along Mass Road in this area are all commercial. This is an existing car wash site and a proposal to convert the existing single-family home on Hague Street into a laundromat. No traffic would exit to Hague Street, and the access to Joffrey Street will be an exit only, and so it will not impact the signalized intersection of Joffrey at Mass Road. Section 4.4, the use will not have a substantial adverse impact on the vehicle or pedestrian safety. This is true for the items I already just mentioned in 4.3 above. Section 4.5, the use will not have a substantial adverse impact on the appearance and visual quality of the surrounding neighborhood. In evaluating the visual impact, the planning board may consider architectural and design elements. The existing house will remain the same ranch-style footprint, and no parking will be on either Hague Street or on Joffrey Street. From Hague Street, it'll still look like a house that is there. On section 4.6, the use will adequately will be adequately serviced by necessary public utilities and by community facilities and services of the sufficient capacity to ensure the proper operation of the proposed use. The car wash is an existing establishment, and the laundromat will provide a proper service to the community. So that is for two of the items that we had. The second item is that has to deal with conditional use permit for section 7.5, permit shared parking access, and the number of parking spaces proposed to be approved. The conditional use criteria is that the use is specifically authorized in the ordinance as a conditional use, which is true. Section 4.2, if completed, the proposed by the applicant, the development in its proposed location will comply with all requirements of this section and with the specific conditions or standards established in the ordinance for the particular use, which is true. Section 4.3, the use will be compatible with the neighborhood and with adjoining or abutting uses in the area in which it is located. The properties along Mass Road are all commercial. This is an existing car wash site, and the proposal to convert the existing single-family home to Hague Street into a laundromat. No traffic will exit onto Hague Street, and the access to Joffrey Street will exit only and will not impact the signalized intersection of Mass Road. Section 4.4, the use will not have a substantial adverse impact on vehicular or pedestrian safety. This is true for the items I already stated above. And 4.5, the use will not have a substantial adverse impact on the appearance and visual quality of the surrounding neighborhood. And evaluating visual impact, the planning board may consider architectural and design elements, and the existing house will remain the same as a ranch-style footprint, and no parking will be on either Hague Street or on Joffrey Street. As an additional, the parking that we are proposing, the three actually face, it's already paved right now, and it actually faces Mass Road. And 4.6, the use will adequately service the necessary public utilities and by community facilities and services of sufficient capacity to ensure the proper operation of the proposed use. This car wash is an existing establishment, and the laundromat will provide a proper service to the community, and sharing the spaces between the two is a reasonable request. Those are the three, I believe.
Board members? I have a question for the applicant regarding his request, number 2, to permit new access from Hague Street, just in of itself. Did you ever pursue a plan that did not have a new entrance on Hague Street, that all the traffic would have circulated within the site and not have a driveway on Hague Street? Did you ever look at that angle for your plan, so that that driveway would not need to be requested? You could have circulated traffic and stayed on the site.
What we did look at, and when this was first, I think, brought before the board in 2018 with a Roma Joe's addition to it too, which was taken off. We had proposed a two-way entrance exit onto Hague Street. So we reduced that to a one-way enter to try to lessen the impact onto Hague Street. In looking at the site itself, in order to get the sufficient parking, if we were to take parking from say on the Mastro side and go towards Hague Street, we would end up needing a T or hammerhead on the bottom on the traffic, and that means that all the traffic would be two-way. The lights would come down and shine over across Hague Street, and people would have to be turning around. So it actually seems from our standpoint to be less impacting with lights and vehicle traffic to have it pull in one way off of Hague Street, as opposed to it would be to have a two-way parking lot facing Hague Street with the lights coming from there.
Any other questions from board members? We going to act on this at this time, or are we going to hold it off and allow for public comment? Okay. All right, so gentlemen, could you please vacate the table temporarily?
Tim, before we do, can I pursue something a little further?
All right, gentlemen, hang on.
On the site plan, because I'm really concerned in these types of urbanized areas that we've allowed enough space, realistic space for snow storage. I only see 2 areas on this plan designated for snow storage. One is spaces 17 through 24, which are also designated vacuum spaces, and the other one is a small area off to the right-hand side of the plan. Are those the only 2 snow storage areas? Am I missing something? Because that doesn't seem like nearly enough.
Well, there's up against the existing car wash, they show snow storage.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one. Yeah, okay, so there's 3 areas.
Yeah, that's actually 4. There's a little one separated by the sidewalk
Yeah,
to the
well,
bigger one, and then those other 2 that you mentioned.
Chance of any snow getting stored there is slim,
Right.
slim and none.
Do you want them to address that
Yeah, I would.
concern?
I mean, we can always condition this, all snow gets removed from the site. I mean,
Right.
plain and simple.
And what we have, and as I indicated on that note, which I think is number
12.
12,
Yep.
is on a lot of sites. You know, if you have 2 inches of snow and you can plow it, push it on site, you're okay. But there's many sites, commercial sites, that if you end up with a foot of snow or 18 inches of snow, there's just no way to put it. And sometimes there's no way to bring it to drop it off. But we put the note on there because if it gets more snow than what they can adequately put on site, they have to take it off site. And that's why the note is there. As to how much can go on site, it's just based on what they can actually put on there. And for their, if they can't put it on site, they have to take it off.
Yeah, I get that.
If I may just make the observation again that Chair pointed out, it's being handled year after year somehow effectively.
We can always deal with that with the condition.
All right, I'm trying to accommodate the public hearing at this point. Can we move forward to the public hearing, please? So at this time, we will open the public hearing, and I believe the first person who would like to speak is Mr. LaFond.
Yes, hello. This
Yep.
is Norman LaFond. Thank you for allowing me to participate first. I purchased this house in 1995. I signed this house. When I closed the next day, my house flooded. My basement was completely flooded. And my mom said, oh, that happened. So, and then it kept happening. Because at that time, in 1995, 96, many of you don't know because you're young. You don't know nothing about what happened 25 years ago. So I'm just telling you that the sewer line, I remember something else happened. There was something else on Mother's Day, and I'll never forget it. It was Mother's Day, 2006, before my son was born, or my grandson was born. Water flooded like you cannot imagine. After that, the new sewer line was in. Brand new sewer pipe. A big, huge, wide sewer pipe was put in. It's been about, we've had hurricanes, everything's been fine. And then one time, they put in a smaller one. The town put in a smaller one. They realized it was wrong. They raised it. The water's been flowing out. Everything's been fine. But I still have water. I still have water behind me. There's still water. There's still water. So now I'm concerned because the car wash has water going through the sewer pipes. And now the laundromat's going to have water going through these sewer pipes. And is this going to impact my home? Is there going to be a water backup? The good thing is that I have about 4 or 5 months left. And my house is paid off, and I'll sell it. And that's fine. But what about the next person? So I don't think you all understand my experience of having all this flooding. So I'm trying to explain how I feel about this situation. So I want all of you, all of the board, to make sure you make careful and thoughtful decisions about the sewer situation. And make sure that it's done safely and properly, that the water is exiting without causing harm to any of the homes. Because me and my neighbor Bob, we're watching what's going on. We know about the snow plowing, and we see what's going on, and we get really nervous about all the water dripping. And then we're thinking about how all of you plan. How do you take care of solving the issues for the town? Because I don't want it to happen again. So that's my expectations for all of you. So I'm scared. I'm scared for this situation. Since, I'm going to say about 2008 till 2021, I have been very satisfied with the situation. But I am concerned adding a laundromat. And now there's going to be more water going through the sewer pipes. And I'm really paranoid. And I don't know what to do about this situation. So again, I'm asking the planning committee to make every effort that the sewer commission knows that the water situation is going to be taken care of the right way. That's my concern. Make sure that it's tested. All of the board needs to understand what I'm asking for. And do you? Do you understand what I'm asking for?
He's waiting for an answer, Tim.
Yes, thank you. We heard your comments. We appreciate your time. Anything else?
Okay, hold on a minute. Hold on a moment. Hold on. I remember one woman who was on the sewer board Carol W., she's not involved anymore. She was a real good advocate. And she got on the sewer board, and she understood our situation. She wanted to make sure that my home was safe. And I'm worried about that. So please, that's all I'm asking.
Thank you very much. Would you ask Mr. LaFond if he's completed his comments?
Well, who am I speaking to?
The chairman. I just
don't know your name.
I don't want to cut you off because I don't know if you're finished. I just want to find out if you finished with your comments. My name's Tim Redmond. I'm the chairman.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Okay, good. Anyone else like to address this matter at public comment?
Hi, Norm. This is Kathy W. It's not Carol W. If you're still there. Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all again. I'm back because I know we're going through all this detail. I know we've talked about all the conditional use permits. And I still think we have the cart before the horse. I have a list of reasons that I feel that this application should be denied. I think many of them might be better at a zoning board than at the planning board. But the one thing that is most important to me is that it shouldn't be at the planning board. One of the ordinances, 15.4.1.3, standards of review, state in reviewing an application for a conditional use permit, the planning board shall consider the following information in its deliberations as applicable to the case. 15.4.1.3.1. The use requested is specifically authorized in Section 3, Table of Uses. Allowable use in zoning ordinances, or otherwise as provided in this ordinance. I mentioned to you last meeting that this does not fall under and is not acceptable under Table 3, Principal Uses. I asked the planning board, under which principal use are you coming in under? And I was told Section D, line 5. Section D, line 5 states, general business, healthcare, and professional and banking and financial offices of 2,000 square feet or larger. This property is 1,500 square feet. It does not fall under the table of uses. Therefore, this application needs to be denied without prejudice, and it needs to be returned to the zoning board as a variance, or I believe a special exception. I have copies of the Section D, line 5, here for every single one of you. And I don't believe I'm wrong in my statement. It is specifically clear on the plan that the building is 1,500 square feet. It is perfectly clear, as stated in the table of uses, it has to be over 2,000 square feet. Therefore, going back to my statement of 15.4.1.3.1, it has to be specifically authorized in Section 3 for a conditional use permit to be authorized. That being said, I again request you deny this application without prejudice. It gives, the reason you have the zoning is it brings the neighborhood into the picture. It allows the neighbors a voice, other than a voice beyond the site, the parking, the vacuum. It brings into the nuisance, into the hazards. Those are all things that are needed to be considered on the zoning board level. There aren't 135 people here tonight, but there were 135 people that is in this file of people who aren't here tonight, who are against this. And I find it a bit concerning that we have gotten to this point and that nobody has paid attention to the fact that it is in violation of the purposes and the specific statements and the table of uses that are in our town ordinances. And the purposes that they're in there for is for the protection of the neighborhoods, is to make sure we don't have nuisances. And therefore, number one, because there's new information that was submitted tonight, you need to continue this, you need to continue this meeting, if that's your belief you should do. But in lieu of that, you need to deny it without prejudice and get it back on track and on the legal track that it should be on, based upon the writings and the verbiage in your ordinance. And that's all I have to say tonight. And I wish you would consider denying without prejudice. Thank you
Catherine,
very much.
any of the things that you left, you said you provided for board members, leaving with Joanne there, and if anybody wants to get one from her at the end of the
Well,
meeting.
actually, I did 10 copies.
All right, well, if you want to leave them with Joanne,
I mean, you're more than welcome to pass them around.
just leave them with Joanne, we can pick them up at the end of the meeting.
One more time, leave them with Joanne. Thanks, everybody.
gonna
Good to
take one,
see you
but I-
again tonight.
I'm going to take one, I just wanted to make sure that...
Nice to see you. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else like to speak at the public hearing tonight?
Yes, I would. I'm Katie Benner from 12 Joffrey Street, and I'm the lady that's been sending you all the memos and the pictures. And I looked at what was prepared and given to me in this, I guess, memo that Joanne prepared for all of us here. And I don't think the residential part of our neighborhood has been represented in this package. If you look at the pictures, okay, you see the pictures of the bank, which is across the street on Mass Road. It's not on Hague Street, it's not on Joffrey Street. You also see a picture of Rite Aid on one of your packages here, okay, which again is on Mass Road and further. They're further than us, okay? And it's upsetting because this is what I see in my neighborhood here. If you take I took a picture from the street view. This is our neighborhood. This is all used as residential, okay, down. So this proposed laundromat does not fit with our neighborhood. We all have residential homes here. The abutter that's right next to the car wash and to the proposed laundromat is Mr. Larrabee. Okay, he's been there since the 1960s. And I took a printout of his card from the tax assessor. He has owned the property since 1968. He's been 53 years as a resident there. He's also a veteran. And he has only has a use of one eye, okay? And he's a direct abutter. His property touches, okay, the car wash, and it's gonna touch the proposed laundromat, okay? Approving this is not respectful to him, okay, because he's a residential, and you're throwing traffic in his way too. I mean, it's bad enough that we all have, you know, we're lucky, we all have two eyes, we can use our two eyes, but this poor man has only one eye. So throwing more obstacles at him is gonna make it more difficult, okay, number one. Okay, number two, okay, I'm just adjacent. I'm not an abutter, but I'm adjacent. I'm closer than Rite Aid is. I'm closer than the bank, and this affects me a lot too. And I have some health issues, so if you're gonna throw extra traffic, it's gonna make it more difficult for me too. All right, so that's my house, okay? This doesn't look like a commercial property or a property that would look like a proposed laundromat. Okay, this is another abutter, okay, that's right across. It may be zoned commercial, but since the beginning of time, it's never been used, okay, as commercial. It's a single-family home, okay, with a nice family, okay, family and 3 children, all right? And this is a picture of looking down Hague Street, okay, and maybe Mr. LaFauna's commercial and Mr. Scarborough's commercial, but since the beginning of time, again, okay, they've been used as residential. Everybody, 99.99% of these people are all homeowners, occupied properties, all right? And I think there's 1 or 2 that maybe they don't live there, but their children live there. So we're a residential neighborhood. So this type of business does not fit, okay, in our neighborhood. And what you're doing here is it's not that you're missing an inch here and an inch there. You're missing 100 feet, okay, for a driveway. You're going to abut Mr. Dion's driveway, okay? He's residential, and you're going to put a fence, okay, right next to his driveway. When backing out, he's not going to be able to see. So you're throwing a monkey wrench that's going to make it hazardous for him, too. I mean, it's not like you're missing an inch for a driveway. You're missing 100 feet, okay? And you're going to put a fence, and you're going to put a blind spot for him? That's not right. And these people here, Mr. Dion, okay, the mother and dad, they've had the property since at least 2008. So that's what, well, like 15 years or so. It's 13 years, okay? Now, Mr. Scarborough, okay, he's very sick. He needs a kidney. And he can't even get out of his street, okay, because he can't get out of his street and take a left, okay, to go to the doctor's office. All right, so this, again, you're throwing a monkey wrench at him also, you know, and you're going to put a driveway right in front of his driveway, pretty much. And again, the street is probably only 40 feet. So it's not like you're missing an inch or 2, you're missing like 60 feet to meet the regulations. So again, you're not helping someone that has health issues. And there's got to be some laws that has to do with ADAs, because you're not supposed to be making it more difficult for people that have health issues. You're supposed to be helping people, not making it more difficult. Poor Mr. LaFawn, he's deaf, okay? Again, his property might be zoned as commercial, but since the beginning of time, it's been used as residential. You're going to throw more traffic at him also? Poor guy, he can't hear, so he has to use his other senses too, so it's going to make it more difficult for him. So it's not right, okay? So, again, there's so many reasons, and it's going to be an eyesore. I took a picture of the street view of the other laundromat that we have. They have these big vents coming from the roof. It's an eyesore. And you're talking about, we can pass this around if you'd like. We don't have pictures.
Why don't you just
Okay,
give it
we
to
don't have
Joanne?
pictures of the vents that they're proposing, but these aren't very attractive either. And you're talking vacuum cleaners, boomers, or whatever they're called, that are going to be 12 feet high. A stockade fence that's 6 feet high is high in itself. So you're doubling that. That's another eyesore. That's terrible. And again, as Kathy said, we had 136 people sign a petition against this. This was back in 2018, all right? It was almost a similar plan, same thing. The only difference is there's no coffee shop. And this time around, I went door to door during COVID, where people usually don't open the doors, and I got like 40 or 50 signatures, and so does Mr. Scarborough. We don't want this. And it's going to create a lot of traffic. I mean, you don't even have an exit. You're going to have to be exiting on our street here, Joffrey Street, which is bad. You don't have enough parking. It's ridiculous to count parking in the bay. I mean, as I said, you're not going to park your car in the car wash bay, take your basket, and go to the laundromat. We're counting that as a parking space. That's stupid. Same thing with the vacuum cleaners. Okay, you're going to park. Okay, where the vacuum cleaners are, you're gonna bother the line for the vacuum cleaners? You're gonna go and walk and go to the laundromat. That doesn't make sense. There's too much traffic, you're gonna cause an accident. We already had an accident last week, all right? I saw the gentleman fixing our light already. Okay, this is what's recorded. We had a lot of other accidents that aren't recorded, but this was an accident last week, and someone went through, I guess, the light on Mass Road and hit the traffic light. So we already have a lot of traffic. We can't hold, another, we can't sustain other traffic, okay? I have a hard time speaking. I'm nervous. However, though, I have a message, an important message, so, we need to take all this in consideration, all right? And it's just not right. And it doesn't meet all the requirements, okay? It's not compatible with our neighborhood. It's not compatible with the abutting, okay? It's gonna be, okay, it's gonna have adverse impact. It's gonna create more accidents, okay, and pedestrian traffic. And it doesn't make sense, too. You're gonna block off the front entrance? Okay, that's a fire hazard, too. You're gonna have only one door, okay, for people to come in and out. You're supposed to have two doors, okay? You're gonna take away sidewalks, too, so people can't walk on Mass Road? This is what they want to do. It does not make sense. I'm sure there's a lot of other things too here that I can't think of right offhand, but it does. It has an impact, adverse impact visually. And we've had problems on Joffrey Street with problems with sewage. There's like 4 or 5 of my neighbors that had to call various companies. They had to have pipes relined. They spent thousands and thousands of dollars. So if you're adding to the system, that's going to be a problem, As I think they said, they had the line from the car wash hooked into Hague Street with a small pipe. All right, so that's going to cause more problem, okay, with floodage and drainage. And if it's a lot of times it's not the city or the town that has to pay, it's the homeowners, and it's very expensive to have pipes unclogged, etc. So anyhow, so we're asking you, be reasonable. It has more exceptions than things that meet the requirements. Plus, we don't even have the word laundromat in one of our ordinances. Okay, it's not listed. All right, so I think it's supposed to be a special exception like the car wash. And by approving this, you're putting the car wash non-compliance, okay, because that's not how they were approved for. They weren't approved to share parking with someone else. That's not how they were approved. All right, so again, just end this. This is the 5th meeting here, and they haven't done what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to go to the storage department. We came to the meeting. They were not there. We were told at that time they hadn't even consulted the storage department. Remember, we went to the meeting? Okay, so they're not even doing what they're supposed to do. All right, and again, I could take out my phone, and the vacuum cleaners in the back that's supposed to be shut off at 8 o'clock, I wanted to print a picture. There was a car there 2 nights ago. It was at 9 o'clock. They weren't shut off in the back. All right, so they're not complying with what they got going, So again, please, just don't make us keep coming back. This is the 5th meeting, okay? There's been extensions, there's been continuations. The plan hasn't changed. It needs to be denied. Please end this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Giddy.
Okay.
My name's Dana Benner. I live on 12 Joffrey Street. I'm going to make this real short and sweet. I sat here and listened, and as my wife stated, that the last meeting, the board, Mr. Redmond in particular, recommended that they go to the sewer commission before they went any further. And they said, oh yeah, we are going to do that. They committed themselves to do that. We made plans, so we were there at 6 o'clock, at which time we were told that they didn't file their, whatever they have, the paperwork they have to get, so they could be put on the meeting. I'm like, okay, this is the story of this group. And I want to go back one, and when my wife was saying you, she was meaning them, not you, as the board, okay? So I was like, when I was cringing every time she said that.
We got it.
Okay, I just want to make that clear.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. But this is a pattern of their pattern here. They present to the board says, "Okay, we're gonna continue it." They don't comply with what the board asked them to do. "Oh, we're gonna continue it." "Oh, we didn't have time." "Oh, someone had a hangnail." Whatever. It doesn't get done. He didn't even contact the sewer till this past week. When was the sewer commission meeting? 2 weeks ago? They didn't even bother to do anything until just now. This is the way they operate. They push to the limit, wait till the day before a meeting and file the paperwork, knowing full well they're going to get continued. "Oh, didn't get it in time, let's go to the next meeting." Well, what's it going to be next time? And the time after that? And the time after that? If I was running a business and I wanted to do something and I needed you guys to approve something, I would have my ducks in a row. I would walk in with every graph, 3D thing, movies, people dancing in the streets. It doesn't matter. I would have it, whatever you guys needed to make the decision. I wouldn't be, pardon the expression, jerking people around, and which is what's happening. They have no concern for the people who live in this town. They think this is some kind of joke because these people don't live in Goffstown. Never mind Pinardville, they don't live in Goffstown. This board has got to say none, no more, end of story, hit the trail, see you later. Do it the right way. If you make a restart, go through the zoning board, make them go to the sewer, whatever the case may be, but stop it. These people are making a mockery of us. They don't care about us, they don't care about the residents, they don't care about our town. They care about the almighty dollar. And they're going to keep stalling and stalling and stalling until one of us is going to give up. And I can tell you it's not going to be us. So that's all I wanted to say. I just don't like this to continue. This has gone on way long enough. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Burton, and I live at 5 Hague Street. Something had occurred to me while I was reviewing things, and I take a little bit of issue with the merger. And I'm not completely clear on this. The whole thing seemed convoluted to me. But I had prepared a couple notes on this. So currently, as I look this up under our tax records, the car wash is owned by 586 Mass Road LLC or something like that, and then there's the second Hague Street property is owned by a different entity. But if you look at the address, clearly they're owned by the same person who lives in Naples, Florida. Right now, tax assessment would be fairly straightforward because you have two separate lots. So my question is, by granting this merger, how do you deconvolute that process? Because my concern here is somebody essentially is deriving value from the conditional use permit because now they're able to expand their business onto another property. So what I'm not aware of, and I would request the town to do its diligence here, is making sure that folks are paying their taxes fairly. And so I think another issue with granting this and allowing the two properties to merge right here is the issue of taxes and how that's going to be assessed between the two properties. 'Cause that's really all I have to say.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi. And here we are again.
Mostly everything I wanted to say has been said,
Could you
but,
please state your name for the
oh, I'm
record?
sorry, Ann Scarborough,
Thank you,
3
Ann.
Hague Street. First, I want to ask, is my understanding of conditional use that they want something that really shouldn't be, but they're going to be granted the use or of what they want, as in the driveway that is directly facing our driveway. So, well, a little bit over, okay, but it's not the 165 or 125 feet. And they wanted the conditional use approved for that. Does that mean even though it's not proper, they can have conditional use? They can have that usage if it's approved?
And we don't typically answer questions.
Can you tell me if my understanding of
I'm going to make one
conditional
exception
use?
for this one question and let Joanne answer the question.
Oh, I just, what is conditional use?
So certain things are a permitted use,
Right.
which means they can go in with no question.
Okay.
Or I shouldn't say no question, but they're allowed. The second category would be conditional use permit, and that means that if you meet the criteria that Mr. Mitchell went over, and the board agrees with it, then you can use it for that purpose.
Okay, thank you very
So
much, I did have
it's a
it.
use with extra conditions.
Okay. Okay,
Is that right? Is that right?
That's pretty close.
Thank you very much, thank you for allowing that, I did have it correct. Well, I don't like that. If it shouldn't be there, it shouldn't be there. It is within our driveway. The driveway they want to go in and out, and it will affect our driveway. They were talking, no, this is supposed to be 2 separate entities. It's owned by 2 separate people. However, the parking, the only way they can get this is to share the parking. The only way they can get this is for the sewer line to go from the
Car wash.
car wash, I'm sorry, the car wash through the laundromat out on Hague Street. That's an awful lot of sharing for 2 separate entities. If something should happen with this sewer line coming out, so it must be coming out directly in front of our house again, what happens if there's a backup and it affects my house? Who's going to be responsible for that? I didn't add any more water or sewer to Hague Street. I've already had flooding on Hague Street from the Mother's Day floods, as has been mentioned, and it's very costly. So now something else is going to be added. I don't feel I should be responsible for that. The other condition, the vents. The vents are coming out in front of our house. Well, it's on their property, but they're facing our house. They want 3 vents. And in the driveway, it was mentioned tonight, lighting in the drive-through till 10 o'clock. That's going to go right into our windows till 10 o'clock at night. I certainly don't like that. The whole thing is we keep coming back and back and back with things not being completed that were supposed to be completed. I think this is the 5th or 6th time we've been here. We come prepared of everything that we oppose. We bring our facts. We bring our opinions. But everything else seems to slide. Okay, you don't get it done. we'll just go to the next Thursday meeting. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right. You're all tired of it, I'm sure. You hear the same thing once a month. I'm tired of it, but I'll keep coming back with the same thing. You can, I will be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Scarborough.
Now the next one.
I think we ought to have a friendly barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
We're here so many times. I'm Robert Scarborough. Again, I live on Hague Street. And it's getting tougher and tougher to get on to Mass Road. Rite Aid now is taking Howe Pharmacy, which closed in Goffstown. They have the people going from Howe Pharmacy to Rite Aid. Sometimes I can't even get prescriptions. I got to go the next day because they're so busy. And you got a bank across the street, which is a lot more traffic. And it's just, I wish you guys would just once come over and sit on Hague Street in a chair and just see all the cars that go through here, especially in the afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock. And that's when I get my kidney doctor's appointments. I can't get out of my street, and nobody will let you go through. And then that right that comes out of the car wash right now, there's no stop sign, there's nothing there. And they just pull right out. And if I'm taking a left, I'm going to get hit by somebody. I like that word she said, deny without prejudice. That's what I wish you guys would do. I'm tired of coming back and forth. You guys are all nice guys, and women, excuse me. And it's just getting really tiresome to keep coming back and forth, back and forth. Please deny this, please. That's all I ask. Thank you. Anybody want to give me a kidney, by the way? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scarborough. Anyone else wish to speak at the public hearing tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing for this evening.
Mr. Chairman, may we respond to anything?
I'm going to discuss that with board members. I don't want to turn this into a long response session. I'm going to talk about the board with it, right? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Board members, what's your comments and statements at this point?
I think we need to get from the applicant what they want us to do tonight, whether it's in terms of voting on something or continuing, because, am I correct in understanding that?
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was saying that I think we need to get clarification from the applicant as to what they want us to do moving forward, because it's my understanding that they have to consent to the waiver of the 65 days in order to request another, in order to continue with this either to a date certain or a date uncertain. So.
I have a question.
Barbara.
Joanne, can you address the comment from Kathy Wooten in regards to the use?
I was ready for that.
Thanks.
So we have a table 3 which shows all of the uses for all of the different zones. This property is zoned commercial, which means that if you look under uses, which I would consider this a laundromat, a service use, and you look under general businesses, so it's a permitted use. So the square footage is basically, it says general businesses, comma, healthcare and professional, comma, and banking and financial office of 2,000 square feet or larger. The one prior to that says small office not exceeding 2,000 square feet of general business and professional office and healthcare practitioner, including outpatient care. We don't have any specific categories in this ordinance we have specific, but we don't get down to the subcategories such as a laundromat. So a laundromat is a service use. If you don't have a washer and dryer, you go to the laundromat and you have your laundry done. So it's a permitted use, it's not a use by conditional use permit. The conditional use permit that they're requesting, the 3 conditional use permits, all have to do with the driveway separation or how close it is to the intersection. So that's like a separate issue. So the use itself is permitted in the commercial zone.
So in the, since you brought it up, in the declarative statements that the applicant made that under 4.6, the use will be adequately serviced by necessary public utilities and by community facilities and service of a sufficient capacity to ensure proper operation of the proposed use. How do you determine the language in that? Is that applying to all functions within the site, or is this applying to the driveway only? What is that? What do those words apply to?
Well, in that situation, it would be, I think it would apply to the driveway, because that's what they need the conditional use permit for. I mean, it seems silly because it's hard to answer those questions.
Yes, but
for
the
a
driveway is going to service the business.
Right.
So
So it
the-
kind of ties in together, but the,
So my question is that, how can they make a declarative statement that there is services of sufficient capacity when they haven't been to the sewer commission to ask if there's capacity for them to exit the property and join the sewer line?
they'd have to answer that question.
Well, what's...
Tim, I don't agree with your interpretation.
Okay, well, I'm trying to get an interpretation here.
Because if you interpret the section C, D rather, the way I think it's intended, which is the clause of 2,000 feet or larger applies to banking financial office
Oh, okay.
only. But we do allow general business, which we do. That's how we've interpreted this, all up and down.
Jim, I
in the
think you're
commercial
asking if you
district.
could speak a little louder. They really...
Okay, that's what we've interpreted that as allowed use.
Thank you.
And the conditional use permit is not required for the permitted use, which would be the laundromat. It's only for the driveway or the road. So no,
Okay.
you don't need to show that as to everything, just as to the matter for which you need the conditional use permit, or the conditional use approval.
I respect your opinions, but I have my own.
Yeah, you may.
And just going back to the table of uses, if, it would be impossible to list every use that there is
I
out
understand.
there. So that type of business is considered a commercial use.
Catherine, I'm not going to permit you to speak. The public hearing has been closed. I'm sorry. All right, other issues with the board at this time?
Seems to me the only design issue that's significant that's been brought to our attention are the vents. We still don't. We've seen a picture of what they are in another place, and they're pretty big. We don't have a view and what it's going to look like if they're, I think we've agreed they should be shielded. We don't have the information other than general representation. We can decide that's material or not, but that is still missing from the information we have.
And since these are technically separate businesses on separate lots with a shared agreement, I say no trash receptacle on this site either. I only see a trash receptacle that services the laundromat, the car wash site. I see no trash for this site. Other members?
Chair, may I address a sort of legal issue that's been raised?
Please, I'd like you to address issues that need to be discussed.
A lot of the issues raised by the abutters, and I understand what they're raising, are, is this an appropriate use in this location? But if we interpret it as properly zoned, that's not a decision that this board can make. It's been made by the voters in approving the commercial zone. I'll cite to the case, which is Trustees of Dartmouth College versus Town of Hanover. The court made that pretty clear, that we, unfortunately or fortunately, are not a super zoning board. We're a planning board. So we have to accept the zoning as adopted. So whether or not a laundromat should be there has been essentially determined by planning, by zoning. Instead, we're a planning board. We can look at all the aspects that we consider, but we're not permitted as ordered by the court to say should not be a laundromat there. That's a zoning issue.
So if I could just jump in, I agree, but we still have to
Still the planning issues.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but just
Right.
is this an appropriate place for a laundromat is not before us as a zoning matter. It's been decided by the town adopting the zoning. Instead, we have to look at the planning issues that we're addressing, which is aesthetics and parking, all those other things.
Conditional use.
Yeah.
Joe, I have another question. It was a statement by one of the abutters was that the car wash was granted by a conditional use permit. Was that what I heard? Special exception? Special
That's what they said. I can't
Well, I'd like
verify
to
that,
know,
but
I'd like to know if the special exception limits further development of that site with cross-parking easements and other things that would render the special exception invalid or not permitted under the special exception. I want to know. I'm not making a statement one way or the other. I just would like to have you to look into that and let us know what that is or isn't, if you wouldn't mind, please. Barbara?
I think the abutters deserve a plan, as do we deserve a plan for this site. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed in the applicant's efforts between the last meeting and this meeting, but that's their choice, and we deal with what we have in front of us. So we have a commercial lot for which a laundromat has been proposed and is a permitted use. I don't know that anybody really here on the board thinks anything differently. To me, the proposed architectural drawings of this building are a huge improvement over how that building currently looks. And it is a commercial site for which there is some use of a commercial nature intended by the ordinance in the community. So I understand the abutters don't want to be in front of a commercial, next to a commercial lot, but we all, those of us who have been here for a while at the Mother's Day flood and before, remember that there was a huge efforts in regards to expansion of 114 to deal with the drainage issues. Member Devanza might have a little bit of a recollection about that, because he was the select board point person on working out the new road layout and drainage and everything that went in there to take care of those projects. So I have to say, I am not that we have that discretion. From an abutter standpoint, I don't know that this isn't an okay use. I mean, it certainly is less than it would have been for a coffee shop or other uses. But I have to say, for me, the exercise about the vacuums has been more than frustrating. And I will not approve a plan unless the vacuums the way they are now stay. They provided generic stuff that I can get offline for the new vacuum system. And my comment last time was the Shell Station boom vacuums are set back from the road, they are against the building, and we had, because I remember back then, we had a visual depiction of what that building was going to look like, because they redid the exterior when they put those booms in, and we got a drawing of what it was going to look like. And it's set back from the road. And so I don't know that I'm doing any service to the neighborhood by putting those big booms, which they've said apparently they don't really need to do, and it's in part of the laundromat. They're just sort of upgrading the car wash on the Mass Road side, and on the back side, it's been pointed out that's adjacent to a home. There is a fence there that's supposed to provide a shield, and those booms are certainly going to be higher than the fence. So
there are large evergreen trees too.
Okay, I couldn't remember whether those were evergreens or whether but whatever. That's just, I don't think they've presented enough to me that I asked. I didn't think it was a complicated request. Applicants do it all the time. As to the conditional use permits, I think the applicant deserves consideration of the conditional use permits tonight, because nothing happens unless these conditional use permits get granted. But I will just say, my final issue is, I have to admit, it wasn't until I saw the photo that I was reminded that the vents are on top of the current laundromat. which is at Cleary's. That was the
Cleary.
picture.
Right.
And my recollection was there was a representation the dryer vents would be coming out the side of the building, which is a dramatically different look to me than
Roof vents.
the things that look like they came off the robot from the Smith family Robinson. So, you know, I'm just putting that out there for a plan. I personally, the vacuums aren't changing as far as I'm concerned. We need to get something clarified as to how we're going to deal with the dryer vents. And before we do any of it, we need to deal with the CUPs. That's the way I look at it.
David?
I remember the applicant talking about the vents exiting relatively close to the ground.
I do too. But
the picture that the board was shown during our session here was a commercial dry cleaner facility.
Right, no, I understand that it's probably different.
And it wasn't representational of what the applicant is installing. So the picture was...
Thank you for that. I recall.
It's a dry cleaner laundromat.
Yes.
The other
Right,
building.
no, I understand
Yeah.
it's a different facility, but, right, I really, in my set right here, I don't,
And on the topic of your booms, the applicant did state that they wish to change them, but if they have to keep them, they'd be happy to keep them, if I'm not mistaken. I couldn't be misrepresenting that, but I believe I am because I see a person nodding in the background.
I would use the address.
No speaking, please.
No.
No speaking.
That's not right.
I got it. I don't need you to prompt me. Okay, board members?
Well, we can address the conditional use permits.
What about the request from the applicant to respond to these multiple statements from the abutters? I don't want to extend this any more than we already are. They can bring it at the next meeting if they want to prepare.
Well, if they're willing to continue it.
Well, that's going to be the
Right.
next question, Karen.
Right.
It's 9 o'clock. We've got 2 other matters to
We
deal
do.
with.
That's
So-
why I'm trying to
so
get this concluded.
I think we,
So you want to address the conditional use permits tonight?
well, I mean, I
don't
think we
see
need to.
I don't see the
because-
problem addressing, they're not going to,
they're not
going to, it's not deciding the fate of the project.
No,
it's
I
just
understand that,
a
but if we
phase of
deny
it.
them, it's over.
Right. So, Joanne, could you please give us the first conditional use permit that is being requested? State it for us.
To permit an existing driveway access onto Joffrey Street that is less than 125 feet from the intersection. This is an existing driveway with two-way traffic. The proposal shows one-way traffic out only.
Any discussion on the first request for a conditional use permit?
it seems to improve the situation. It doesn't make it worse. And if, to the extent we're looking at any increase in any of the factors, I think it does not. Is that correct?
That would be my take.
Okay. Any other discussion on this conditional use permit? I'll call for a vote on the conditional use permit.
Here we have to make the findings, but based on the applicant's presentation and...
Well, we need a motion too,
Yeah,
excuse me.
well, okay. I would move that based on the applicant's presentation of the conditional use factors, and particularly that it's decreasing the impact by being one way, that we find it's met the standards for a conditional use permit.
Jim's made the motion to grant the conditional permit number 1 based on the applicant's representation. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Collis or Phil? Who said first? Collis. Okay, motion been made and seconded. All those, and Kimberly, are you still on the phone, Kimberly?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we're gonna listen for a vote from you. Okay, all those in favor?
Okay.
All those in favor of granting the first conditional use permit for the driveway in Joffrey Street, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Passes. Joanne, please give us number 2.
To permit a new access from Hague Street that is closer than 100 feet from another existing driveway.
Discussion?
I mean, I don't think it matches or meets the conditional use permit criteria personally. I haven't seen any evidence presented that it won't have a substantial adverse impact on traffic or pedestrian safety.
Okay, anyone else want to comment on that?
There's been no evidence submitted to counter the applicant's traffic study, which I believe is in the record, correct?
Yes.
And on impact on traffic. Joanne?
Yeah, it's in the record.
Yeah.
There were two, one, and then it was reviewed by our outside
And
Okay, I clearly
again,
missed that.
the same case, the court.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't have your opinion.
Yeah, sure.
Your opinion is yours.
Well, yeah, no, I know that,
Because
but I
the
didn't.
traffic engineer doesn't work for you.
No, it doesn't.
But the court has told us we have to be careful if we haven't put in contradictory evidence. We've got to have some pretty good basis for that, which doesn't mean we can't decide. We're not, as Tim said, we can review it. You have to point out, all of the lots in this area are undersized based on what our zoning would require. So if we do not grant conditional use permits for these size lots, they render them essentially unbuildable.
Well, there is a driveway there already.
Well, there is.
That services the site.
Correct.
So it's not like they do not have a driveway to the site.
In which case, they don't need a conditional use permit because they have an existing driveway.
But they're moving it.
Right.
Is that a material change?
That's discussion.
They're moving it and they're changing it from serving a residential house
To a commercial site.
commercial site.
But if you say it's an existing driveway, it will still be an existing driveway. They're changing the use of the structure.
And location, as I see on the print, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because the garage is being torn down. It's next to the house.
Right, the current.
It's the center of the existing driveway is being moved to the left about 30 feet.
Right, so it's a substantial change.
So can I follow up on a question on that? So as the driveway is now, is it 100 feet from the other driveway or 125 feet from Mass Road?
No, because it's pre-existing and it's grandfathered.
Okay, I just wanted to be that clear on the record.
And it's closer to Mass Road than the new driveway.
Well,
Right,
that's
no,
fine.
I understand, but
Yeah.
okay.
Been there for a long time.
So am I hearing that it's an improvement because it's making it further from Mass Road?
Except that it moves it closer to the abutting property, the residential property.
Any other questions?
Well, I'm just looking at the traffic study, and it's talking about traffic, but it doesn't talk about pedestrian safety.
Okay. Any other discussion on number 2? We're looking for a motion.
I move that we grant the conditional use permit based on the representations made by the applicant, and in particular the fact that there's a driveway that is already on the lot and it's being moved to be further from the intersection with Mass Road.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, Kimberly, you're there. All those in favor of all those in favor of granting conditional use permit number 2, say aye.
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 Those opposed? I am opposed. Karen's opposed.
I am opposed.
And Kimberly is opposed. Get all them? Okay. But that does pass by a 4-3 vote. Okay, the last one is number 3. Could you please give that to us, to Joanne?
The last one is driveways shall be located at least 100 feet from another existing driveway on the same lot or adjacent lot.
So this applies to the Hague Street driveway?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't see, granted, I'm just looking over this right now. I think I was not at the meeting where this was presented, but it does not talk, this traffic study doesn't talk about the location. It doesn't talk about well, it talks about where the driveway is going to be located, but it doesn't talk about the nuances between where it currently is and whether there's any issues regarding safety where it's being proposed in terms of the abutter or in terms of the other abutters. I'm just thinking of Mr. Dion's property.
I don't know if that should have been included in the traffic study, but obviously was not included in the traffic study.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure if it would be either. I'm just saying it
I don't
doesn't
know what the
address that.
parameters of a traffic study
Me neither.
entail. Okay. Any discussion, more discussion on number 3? Once again, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move to deny the conditional use to have the driveway be located less than 100 feet from other driveways on the same lot or adjacent lot.
Motion by Karen to deny number 3, that it should be located at least 100 feet from the existing driveway on an adjacent lot. Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Motion by Kimberly. Any discussion on the motion?
If you, and the obvious is, if you do that, you've made these commercial lots unbuildable, or you've required that their only access be on Mass Road. And I question whether that's a good plan.
Or we require that they use their existing driveway,
Right.
because they have an existing driveway.
Which is how far?
But it's because it interferes with their site plan. That's why they want to move the driveway. So a vote is a vote.
I mean, potentially they could flip the parking.
Potentially, they could have what I discussed.
Right.
Okay. The motion's been made to deny number 3 by Karen and seconded by Kimberly. Any more discussion on the motion? Okay. I'm going to be careful to word this correctly. All those in favor of denying the motion, not denying the request for a conditional use permit for number 3, say aye.
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 So that's 4. All those in favor of opposed to the motion to deny?
I'm opposed.
Opposed.
So we have 3 opposed. So the motion passes to deny the conditional use permit number 3. So there we have our conditional use permits.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, I know it's out of turn, a clarification. I thought the second one dealt with the abutting property.
No, that's not how they're written on our sheet here.
Well, I thought I'd written down 100 feet, not from distance from Hague Street. I just want to make sure that you didn't vote on it twice.
Well,
Did not.
Joanne, did you read number 2 to us? It said to permit a new access from Hague Street that's closer to 100 feet from another existing driveway.
I'm sorry, yes, that's correct. So the third one, I should have said, driveway shall be located at least 125 feet from the street.
No, I didn't.
No.
No, it was clear to me that on number 2, we were voting 125 feet from the
Yes.
street.
I agree.
The last line of 2 is, the proposed driveway to be located on Hague Street is closer than 125 to the intersection of Mass Road.
I think the intention was correct. I think I just read it wrong.
I don't think you should have even had that line.
The first line
next to
shouldn't have
number
been in
2.
it, yeah. The
It should have started with the zoning, right, Joe?
Right.
Barbara?
Yes,
I think-
and that's how we read it.
But I think we voted on it correctly.
So we voted to approve a driveway that it be located at least 125 feet.
From
From
Mass
the
Road,
end.
which
From
was
Mass Road.
consistent
Right.
with our
Right.
discussion that
Right.
noted that it moved it further from Mass Road.
Closer than 100.
Yes.
So that was approved.
Number 3 said 100 feet, number 2 said 125.
Right, so
Right.
number 3
One
was
said
the
125.
driveway, number 2 was Mass Road.
So
We voted correctly.
we did vote correctly.
Yes.
Maybe I just read it wrong, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm too tired to know right now.
Well,
I've been
I
here
can't-
all day.
So the third.
I'm sorry, but
It
that-
was very
that-
clear from the record that we were voting on the distance from Mass
driveway,
Road
yeah.
for number 2, and the distance from the driveway for number 3.
I think that line was a typographical error even being there, on the, next to the number 2.
Well, the
Just-
two
just-
125 were from the intersections, or as Barbara said, Mass Road.
Right.
And the other was 100 feet from the drive, from the
Existing
next
other
door
driveway.
driveway.
So the first,
Parallel to neighbors.
so the first 2 conditional use permits were granted, the third one was denied.
We have to state reasons for denial.
Individually or as a board?
As a board.
Well, then how do we have to compile the reasons as a board, a consensus of reasons?
Yeah, the court said that.
Okay, well, in my, I'd like to add to the pot
That
that,
has to be made part of the motion. The motion, it will be denied for the following reasons.
oh, the motion should have had it? Well, I wish you would have brought that up when we made the motion. Sorry.
He tried. Oh.
I'm sorry if you tried and I didn't give you a chance. So I guess we're gonna have to have another vote and
You might-
have
you
a
might figure out-
declarative
Figure out
motion.
what the reasons are. You can't just have a blanket denial.
Okay, so Karen, can you, you made the motion, could you please?
Amend it to say that it doesn't meet the conditional use criteria under 15.4.1.4, that the use will not have a substantial adverse impact on vehicular or pedestrian safety. And 15.4.1.4.3, the use would not be compatible with the neighborhood and with the adjoining or abutting uses in the area for which it is located.
Does that suffice, Jim, in your legal opinion here? We have to do it right, so if it takes a board member to advise us on how to.
No, you have to state what you found, or that we found was not reasons for denial.
This is the first time I've dealt with this.
So Kimberly, do you agree with modifying the motion to include those reasons? You were the seconder.
Yes, I do. Those were the 2 that I was specifically thinking. Thank you, Karen, for putting the numbers to them.
You're welcome.
Okay, so are we going to vote again, or we have to vote on the modified motion?
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to vote on the modified motion, which included the reasons why we were stating that we wanted to deny the request for a conditional use permit. And Karen, as stated by Karen and seconded by Kimberly. So once again, all those in favor of denying number 3, 100 feet from the neighbor's driveway, say aye.
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 That's 3 now.
Collis?
I'm sorry.
He said aye in his head.
Yes.
Making sure everybody voted. So now we
As
have
before, no change.
4 votes to deny. Those in favor, those who are opposed, what was the word, Barbara?
Nay?
Those who
Oppose the motion.
oppose the motion.
Say nay.
Nay.
Nay, so it's 3. So it's still a 4-3 vote with stated reasons for denial.
Right.
So now, at this point, I'm going to ask the applicant and his representative, the representatives from the applicant to come back to the table.
If I may, I think you have one more conditional use permit to address, and that's the shared parking.
Oh, thank you for helping us out here. Joanne, could you talk about that?
Yes, I don't know that I have that.
You can still come on
in
up.
Here.
Thank you.
1 second.
We have a waiver too.
It's actually a waiver, I think.
Right,
Let
it's
me
the
just get
waiver.
to the right page.
Fine.
We have a waiver from Development Regulations, Appendix F, Section 2, Landscaping Screening.
Okay.
That's a waiver request.
Do we have enough information on that?
Joanne gave us in our staff report.
Let's just deal with the shared parking first.
Okay.
I didn't realize there was another conditional use permit for that. I didn't, oh, all
So the shared parking.
The 3 spots on the car wash.
Right.
But, did you submit that one?
I don't have any paperwork on it.
I don't have it either.
I don't need.
Because they're,
Let's see. This was dated May 13th.
Oh, God, it's antique.
The use will be compatible with the neighborhood and with adjoining or abutting use.
First of all, did we discuss this at a meeting and have the applicant make the declarative statements? That in your
The
opinion?
applicant, this is the first time the applicant is answering these questions. This is the first time that the board has looked at the conditional, or not looked at, but discussed the conditional use permits.
And I read that in earlier on this one.
Oh, you read that in when you read
Yes, I
all
did.
the, so you made your affirmative statements on all matters?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. So Joanne, why don't you get, since that's been done, why don't you give us the, so it's conditional use permit number 4, I'm going to add to my list. And Joanne, could you please review the substance of that request?
So, section 7.5 is requested to permit shared parking access and the number of spaces proposed to be approved.
Has the public seen that?
At the meeting in May, yeah, it was brought forward in May. Right, Joanne, you submitted that at the meeting in our packet?
This has been included, but not this letter. I mean, this letter's been in the file. I mean, we've had it, but it's not been discussed.
Did board members have that conditional use permit request in a
Yeah.
packet?
Yes,
Okay. And it was discussed, and it was brought up at a meeting?
correct. So, there's a section here which I've included on page 8. Alternative parking arrangements. In order to provide for more flexible, and this comes from the ordinance, in order to provide more flexible alternatives to satisfy the parking requirements of this section, the planning board may issue a conditional use permit for one or more alternative parking arrangements in the following circumstances. Where compliance cannot be achieved with the standards for driveway separation. All right, we'll skip that. In order to allow the establishment. In order to allow the establishment of driveway access to a lot, provided that the board finds the reduction in dimensions in the most minimal reduction, which will still allow the access to be established to the lot while minimizing to the greatest extent possible the potential conflicts of turning movements into and out of the driveway with other turning and through traffic movements on the adjacent street. In granting the permit, the board may mandate the sharing of driveways and may establish certain conditions relative to the width of driveways, the number of entry and exit lanes.
Is this as to the shared parking?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out
Yeah.
too.
Doesn't
Promotes the
sound
safe
like
and
it to me.
efficient- So this talks about movement of traffic that
It's on
the
page
board.
8 of our packet.
I think you want to look at 7.5.3 in the ordinance, page 69.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, it's talking about shared
Point
driveways.
3.
7.5.
Can I ask a point of order?
Go ahead.
If they're going to have to change the plan to move that access entry from Hague Street, can we really discuss this next item knowing that that's a significant plan change?
Well, I think it would be useful for them to know if we're going to allow
Shared parking?
shared parking. But it's not clear to
Okay.
us what we're doing. Are we just granting a waiver, or do we have to grant a conditional use permit? Mr. Wayne, you haven't presented it clearly.
Okay. So 7.5.3 states, 2 or more principal uses may share parking spaces either on a lot with one of the principal uses or on a site that is independent of all of the principal uses. Standards to be met for shared parking include parking spaces are within 500 feet of all principal uses. Parking spaces are located in the same zoning district as the principal use or in another zoning district which is permitted, in which the principal uses are permitted by right, special exception, or conditional use permit. Parking spaces must be permanently related to each principal use by easement, condominium declaration, or other recordable binding and recordable legal instrument, or a long-term lease that is how do you say that? Coterminous with the respective principal use. The parking spaces shall not be designated as being limited to any of the shared uses. However, spaces may be designated as being reserved for customers in contrast to employees. Handicap designation requirements are not affected.
So has the applicant made the request for the conditional use or waiver or whatever it may be under that particular section or under section 7.5.5?
Well, he's generalizes it under 7.5. And then he lists the conditional use permits criteria that he read previously.
Okay.
So it's not specific to 7.5.3, but he references 7.5 and says to share parking space. To request to permit shared parking access and the number of spaces proposed to be approved.
And how many does he say that is?
Well, here he doesn't say.
Okay, I have a question
I'm
about
saying
this
it's
because
3.
I know I don't have all my stuff, but I don't know, you don't have a separate CUP request in any of your documentation for this particular thing. Did you actually get a separate request for this as a CUP or not? Other than what was handed to you here tonight?
I can't say for certain.
Because it's not
I
in
don't
any
have
of,
the
it's
file.
not in the old packet I have, it's, I know we talked about it, but, okay.
Well, and I obviously don't think we can move forward with it tonight.
Just, I can, look through the file and see if we have a stamped received document.
Well, the other question I have, well, I guess is if the shared parking is going to increase, or if they're changing the location of the driveway, is that going to change how many parking spots they share? And if so, is that going to affect our decision on whether or not to grant it?
We rule on the application in front of us.
Right, that's all we rule.
They can always come back with a different one if they don't grant it.
I do recall, we did discuss this.
Yes,
so
we did.
I'm not,
We discussed it.
it's not that we haven't
What was the
talked about
date
it
on
or
that,
just-
Joanne?
May 13th.
I'm going to move that we grant the
Yeah.
conditional
Too
use
new,
permit for the alternate parking arrangements that the standards met in the ordinance are satisfied. I'll point out we've done this on other properties on Mass Road. In fact, we've encouraged it at times.
Second.
I'm sorry, what was your motion, Jim?
To approve.
To approve the request for,
Conditional use permit for the alternate parking arrangement allowing 3 spaces on the car wash site to be allocated for zoning purposes to the...
and Barbie, did you
Site.
second that?
I did.
Okay. So there's been a motion made to approve the conditional use permit for the shared parking, alternative parking arrangements by Jim, seconded by Barbara. Any discussion on the motion?
And I understand why the motion's being made, but I don't think we have enough information in front of us to vote on it. I mean, we just denied the conditional use permit for the driveway location, and the plan is going to change. So I'm not sure why.
Well, or the applicant could appeal our denial. We could be flipped on that. And
Okay, fair enough.
The reasons we should go forward in all the requests.
Or he could just move the driveway, do something else with the parking, and just need the share, he could keep the driveway the way it is now, and say he's got more than enough parking, he doesn't need those spaces, he was putting them there for business purposes, and he's just gonna get rid of them.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Which is what he's
Any
gonna
more
do.
discussion? Seeing none, we're going to vote on the motion to grant the shared parking arrangement. All those in favor of granting the shared parking arrangement, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm opposed.
I'm opposed.
So it's 5-2.
5-2.
Passes 5-2. Okay, now there's a waiver for the landscaping.
I thought we said he didn't need it, because he wasn't gonna, he had more than enough on the site, and he was gonna move the
The
things that were
current
gonna be...
plantings satisfy the requirements.
That was the discussion.
Yeah.
The plan includes this proposed 6-foot stockade fence, so there's no need to vote on that. Okay, so at this point, I'm not going to ask for any rebuttal. I'm going to ask the question which our board member asked you. At this time, are you willing to waive, extend the 65-day clock?
What do they want to do?
Yes, I think we are willing to waive the 65-day clock so we can look at the access off the Hague Street and bring plans back before the board.
So the applicant is requesting to waive the 65-day clock. Does that require a vote, Jim?
No, it's
Barbara?
just a representation by the applicant.
Okay, so the applicant has requested to waive the 65-day clock.
So I'm going to move that if the applicant requests that we continue this to allow the applicant to come back with a modified plan, or try, see if he can. We can, they can.
To a date certain or to a date uncertain?
So I guess that's a question for the applicant on how much time would be required.
Are you meeting the second week in August?
No, so it's either the first meeting in September or second meeting in September.
And I think it would have to be in September. Right? First meeting in September then.
Do we need to vote on accepting the request?
Yeah, I think we need to.
We just do
for a
waive
date
the
certain.
applicant.
No, no, it's just a representation.
It's a
by the-
representation.
yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure procedurally it's not
Yeah.
missed.
But we need to figure out if we're moving it to a date certain.
He
or a
just,
date
he made a date certain
I'm
request.
gonna move that we move,
Continue this
continue
now.
this to the first meeting in September, and Joanne will have to give us the date.
The 9th.
And I'll second it.
9/9/21.
So here's the thing, and I understand that the applicant is saying that, you know, he'll be ready at that time, but, you know, the abutters do have a point when they say that they haven't complied with our request, they haven't met with the sewer commission, and so, you know, if there is going, I'm hesitant to say yes to a date certain and have the abutters come back who feel very strongly about this property and have to rehash this when we don't know if the applicant will be ready at that time.
I can't answer that.
We do that all the time. And we end up with paper in our file that says the applicant requests another continuance.
Yeah, I understand.
I'd rather do that than have this to a date uncertain and have the abutters go through the whole startup process again, which has a whole new plan being presented, and it really is much more of an ordeal. I mean, I think the bottom line is going to be either this applicant figures out how to reconfigure the driveway or not.
So the packets have to go out by the 2nd.
Of September.
Of September. And we normally ask for everything to come in by the Monday prior to that, which would be August 23rd. But I won't be back in the office until the 26th, which leaves me 3 days to review this. So I need this on my desk when I get back from vacation,
What day would that be, Joanne?
the 25th
Of August?
of August. So I'd really like it to be,
people have to review it?
right, I'd like it to be there by the 23rd,
26th.
no later than the 23rd.
We will do that. If we don't make it by then, push it back to the next meeting.
Well, we don't want people coming in, I mean.
Yeah, we don't either. We'll get it done.
I'm hoping, Sarah, I'm hoping the reviews will be related to just the changes in the plan and not the entire plan. If that means anything.
Honestly, I can't speak for what will happen with the driveway. I have no idea.
Okay, well, neither do we. Okay.
I made a motion.
Motion's been made to continue the meeting until, this application until 9/9/21. All those in favor of continuing the application, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
One opposed.
But I'm opposed to.
Oh, two, who's the other one? I apologize.
Kimberly and Karen.
I thought Kimberly said aye.
Oh, she said aye. I'm so
She
confused.
said aye.
She said aye.
Kimberly said aye.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
So 6 to
Just
1.
1K.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mail it to me tomorrow, or when you have a chance?
Yeah, I won't be here
Thank you,
tomorrow, but I
everybody.
can send it Monday.
If you could please take your discussions through the doors, not in the hallway, if you would, please. All right. The next application is map 4, lot 53-5. It's a request from relief from the outer 50 of the 100-foot wetland surface water setbacks to build a 2,000 square foot barn, 207 New Boston Road. Joanne?
Yes, so the applicant would like to build a barn. His property is located on New Boston Road. He already has an existing house. And the barn would be located to the right of the house, and he's limited, there's wetlands in the very front running along the roadway area, and he's limited as to where he can locate this barn due to his existing leach field, his house, and there's a ledge crop, and behind his house is rocky, and then the grade extends upwards towards the back of the property. He had to blast when he built the house a few years ago. So now he'd like to add a barn, 40 by 50, and he needs permission for relief of the outer 50-foot setback. He did meet with the Conservation Commission last night, and their comments are to recommend that the applicant consider reducing the width of the proposed barn and rotate the building as so it will be moved further out of the outer 50 of the 100-foot surface water conservation district. There's a few different plans here that he'll be referencing. Here, okay. So the first plan was done recently to show New Boston Road. Everybody should have a copy of this one.
Do we have to accept this?
Oh, yes, you
Well,
do.
I thank you for that, Barbara. But I was just letting her give her speech first.
I know, but she was starting to,
Right.
when
So,
we're pulling out plans.
could you
we're
please
getting
make
into
the
it.
motion, Barbara?
I move that the application is complete and there are no regional impacts.
I'll second.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Please, go ahead, Kimberly.
Procedurally, I'm not sure the application is complete because they didn't do a wetland delineation within the past 2 years. The plans are showing wetland delineation from 2008, and that's the crucial line that we're discussing tonight. So I would say that this is not a complete application.
That's correct. The regulations do say that they did submit a function and value report from Spencer Tate of Meridian, who describes...
But he didn't do a delineation.
No, but describes the wetland as minimally, I can't say it, minimally suitable for remaining functions and values, but that the wetland
So was
itself
there
had
a waiver
low
needed?
scores.
The question is, does it meet the requirements for a complete application?
Talking two different issues, of delineation and
Right.
assessment.
Yes, it does not have a wetland, a new wetland boundary has
And
not
do our
been shown within
regulations
2
require
years.
that?
I'm sorry, what?
Does the ordinance require that?
Yes.
So it's not complete.
So was there were they given an application checklist and told that they needed to have it? And did they request a waiver?
They did not request a waiver.
Then it's not complete.
Then it's not complete, right?
Yeah, if they come back and request a waiver, we can consider it, but that's not before us. Come on, Joanne, it's just to pick up stuff.
Okay.
I'm going to move that we find it's not complete until we have a waiver request filed.
So Barbara, you withdrawing your
I mean,
motion?
that's a-
I'm withdrawing it. I
that's a-
thought it was complete.
That's a zoning matter. We don't have we can't-
Discretion.
discretion on that. If it's in the zoning, right?
Could you please
Yes.
state why you find it to
Well,
be incomplete?
Because the zoning requires a presentation of certain information that has not been presented, and that's required for complete application.
No, you know what, I'm correcting myself here because I'm reading Sarah's comments about this. It's actually in the development
Okay, well, we
regulations.
can waive those then, but we have to have a finding on why.
I'm not interested in waiving that because that's a critical point of how we decide whether or not we would waive the outer 50 feet of the 100 foot of the buffer when we don't know where the wetland is.
Okay, I'm going to make my motion that we find it's incomplete. I think the applicant can come back in with a waiver that addresses the requirements in the regulations, either why it should be waived, but we don't have...
Or complete a new boundary survey.
Yeah, we don't
as
have that
required.
information in front of us now, so I don't know how we can act on it.
I'll second it.
So,
Collis may educate us differently. He did this for a living.
I think the only wetland delineation we had was on a septic system design plan, which was old, very old.
2008.
Yeah.
2009.
Well, whatever.
Yeah. That's way too old.
So, I made a motion.
I know, it's been seconded, I'm just making sure we have the discussion out of the way.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to look to Collis for a recommendation on this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, it's too old. It needs to be delineated, redelineated.
Was your motion to deny?
Or
Find
it
that's not
incomplete.
find that's not complete. We're not accepting, we're not denying, it's just we're not accepting it.
And I seconded it.
Okay. So, if there's no more discussion, we'll vote on the motion to find this application is incomplete for the reasons stated.
And not accept it for him.
And not accept it this evening. All those in favor of finding this is incomplete, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Passes. We'll have to, whoever's representing these folks is going to have to complete the waiver or do the required wetlands delineation survey as stated and come back.
Can I make a comment or should we not?
No. I think comments might not be applicable.
Well, we can guide the applicant, but we shouldn't go to the substance of it.
So Kimberly, if you'd like to say something, you have your opportunity under those criteria.
Okay, I reviewed the wetland function and value evaluation form, and I think that it should be looked at again by Meridian and Mr. Tate, specifically regarding the fact that when I looked this up, the site is listed as the highest ranked habitat on our wildlife action plan for the state, and it includes this pocket of wetlands that is right in front of and essentially the wetland that we're talking about. So I think that they should give that functions and values assessment a second hard look.
Okay. I don't see any unhappy faces. Is the applicant even here tonight? Okay, good. He's smiling, so I guess he's okay.
He is no.
Not okay, but...
All right.
Not okay.
All right, we'll move on to the next application, which is...
Do we have another application?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Map 8, Lot 36-9.
Yes, we do.
It is
Subdivide.
completeness review for subdivision, Stephen Noble, 310 Page Hill Road. Joanne?
Okay, this is property on Page Hill Road consisting of 8.9 acres. The owner would like to divide this into two lots. One lot would be 6.9, which is the parent lot, 36.9, and the other lot, 36.91, would be 1 acre. Both lots would have over 200 feet of frontage on Page Hill, and the parent lot would also retain frontage on Hillcrest. On the parent lot,
All
there
right,
is...
let me ask the same question, and hopefully
it
we get a
complete?
better answer this time. Is this application complete?
Yes. On the parent lot,
Well, we have to...
Is there any
Sorry.
regional impact?
Well, first of all, I always thought we had Joanne's,
Is this just a subdivision?
her
I'm just
introduction
giving a
of the
description.
applicant prior to defining it, because she makes the recommendation at the end of her...
Either way.
that
Either
comes
way.
in the
Finish
next
your
paragraph.
Okay.
your details.
On the existing, on the parent lot, there is an existing house with a barn and a few outbuildings. The new lot would contain the required buildable area, the 80 by 100. And there's some other issues which I'll go into later about the well. The lot contains steep slopes and wetlands. There is no regional impact, and I recommend the board find this complete.
All right, so do we have a motion on Joanne's recommendation to find that it's complete?
I don't want to step on Barbara's lines.
No. I just have a question because it says, I can't remember how old this development is. So I guess I am treading into Kimberly's territory with sort of great trepidation. There's talking about an outbuilding encroaching into the outer 50-foot wetland setland buffer. I know these lots up here off Hillcrest were created a while ago. So is there anything that we need for wetlands with this?
They said they have no concerns. That's what I thought I read in here.
Well, this is all existing, Barbara, that's in the, that has the, where the lines cut through the house and the existing building. The new lot is separate from
Right.
the existing
Okay.
site. I don't think they're proposing anything to go into the setback.
Well, it said, it just talked about an existing building, so I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure that there was nothing new.
Actually, the
going on.
existing barn looks like it's outside of the minimum building setback line, so.
Right.
I mean, you're not gonna
Okay.
tear the barn
All right.
down. So we need a motion to find that this is complete and with no
I
regional
feel
impact
so
and ready to
sorry.
review.
I make that motion.
And Barbara, will you second it?
Sure.
Okay, the motion's been made. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstention.
Yes, Kimberly.
Kimberly, are you voting?
Go ahead.
Kimberly? Come in.
Sorry, I have one. Yes, I am voting yes.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Dave. Okay, so this is ready to board members, do we have any questions for Joanne before we ask for the applicant to come forward? Yeah, we voted, didn't we?
We just voted.
Yes.
I heard
It
you
was
say
all
yes,
yes.
Kimberly, but I missed everybody else.
Everyone else said yes, including Kimberly. It was unanimous.
You were typing.
Okay.
Board questions for Joanne before we bring the applicant forward?
Do we have a proposed, lot, do we have proposed lot lines where they're proposing to?
Oh,
They're on the plan, right?
they're on the plan.
Subdivision plan.
The subdivision plan.
Why don't we have the applicant come forward and explain this to us?
Oh! I'm like, what?
She's on the last plan.
There we go.
The proposed.
Come on up, Bob.
They both have barns, it's not my fault.
That's right.
Come on up, folks. Anybody involved in this process, come on up and take a chair if you choose to. We'll ask you all to identify yourself for the record if you're going to sit at the big table, or if you plan on saying anything.
I'm Stephen Noble.
Stephen Noble? You're the landowner.
I'm the landowner. Good evening, board members. My name is Bob Kilmer from Sanford Surveying and Engineering, representing Stephen Noble, the owner, with regards to the property at 310 Page Hill Road. Again, map 8, lot 36-9. Again, this lot was originally created by subdivision in 1972. Mr. Noble purchased it in '77 with the existing house, a barn, and a wild building containing 8.9 acres. He is proposing to subdivide a 2-acre parcel with frontage on Page Hill Road. And, his son is planning on building a house on this parcel. Again, proposed lot generally sloping 10 to 15 degrees within the building setbacks. There are 2 areas of steep slopes here and here, but mostly taken up, again, outside in the town right away and within the building setbacks, so they won't be affected by developing. Okay. Again, so basically he's trying to create a 2-acre lot, that frontage. Again, the parent parcel 36-9 will go from 8.9 acres to 6.9. The new lot will be 2.01 acres. Wetlands have been done. The question regarding the buildings, as I understand through zoning coordinator, is that since we are doing a subdivision, we have to show the current setbacks. That's, you know, again, in 72, there were no wetland setbacks at that, under the original subdivision. Again, we've got the topo, test pits. We show the proposed drive with sightline dimensions. They work. Again, if you look at topographic sheet, the proposed driveway is toward the northwest corner of the lot, coming off the page here.
What sheet are you on?
There is a town catch basin.
Bob, could you tell us where the driveway, we have 3 sheets in our plan set, and I'm not seeing the proposed driveway is on page 2?
Oh,
Sheet 2.
no, it's on sheet
No, I'm just
3?
Sheet 2, the middle sheet.
Sheet 2 shows proposed
sheet
driveway.
2 on the proposed drive, the topographic one.
Sheet 3 does too.
Oh. Yeah,
It
no, I see
also
it.
will show up on sheet 3
Yeah.
showing the site distance.
Gotcha.
May I ask a question on that? What's the distance from the existing driveway, since we just wrestled with that in the prior?
Edge to edge, 43 feet.
Yeah, so do they need a waiver?
So they need it.
Because
It's not 100 feet.
not 100 feet.
I'm going to invite our town engineer to speak since she's got her hand up in the back. Come on up. Sarah, why don't you slide a table right up, a chair right up next to Joanne?
Now, this
And you
is
can
this is
hang
a
right there next to Joanne.
Subdivision, not a site plan, so.
I believe the difference is 2 residential driveways and a commercial property. I believe the 7.4.3.1 is, I think the difference is the 100 feet is for, I have a lot of stuff to do.
Do you need help, sir?
I think the 100 feet is for a commercial property. It's in the zoning regs though, so I can look
Oh,
at it.
okay, yeah, in 4.7.2, within 40 feet of, no,
Yeah,
on
it's
existing
40
driveway
feet
on
for
this,
residential.
Yeah.
on adjacent. I think the applicant said it's 40 feet.
43, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Sarah. You can join us up here, please. It keeps you from having to run back and forth.
He did look aghast when he brought up the subject. I
Your
can see why.
staff. All right,
Wish I had that.
so Bob, could you please continue?
So basically, again, we are not showing any conceptual lot development at this time. The son is still working on building plans and such, so, you know, the house layout and whatever else, what the driveway will do. Again, in the review, fire department and public works have stated that, you know, they do have to, again, adhere to the driveway regulations and NFPA standards as far as driveways, length, you know, and all that stuff.
You did not show the 4K septic area on any of the sheets I've seen.
Correct. On sheet 2, you'll see the 80 by 100 building area.
Yep.
And you'll see that. The actual 4K area is, again, not shown, but it's actually, takes in the test pit and runs, not parallel, but it comes off in an angle
Well, generally speaking, it should be shown on the
like
print.
this, and it's not correct, it's not shown. I'm just saying, It is there, and it does meet
It fits?
your standards, right? It fits, correct.
Well, that's what we need to know.
Yeah.
Why isn't it shown? It fits.
Why did you
Info
not?
box.
Why did you not?
You left it out accidentally.
It's a miss, showing the 80 by 100 and not showing the 4K, it was just a mistake. It should be on there. It's in the CAD drawing, it's just not shown on the layer. The layer was turned off or whatever.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Board members, do you have anything else to add, Bob, before I ask for any questions?
Not at this point.
Okay. Board members, questions?
Does Sarah have any comments? I guess the question would be, given the steep slope on the roadside, are there issues with the driveway permit that you envision?
I suggested showing erosion control because I think the steep slopes, I think there might be some issues there. And then, like, obviously the house location helps us understand how long the driveway is going to be, but I understand that's in the works. So
But I'm concerned with just if the driveway comes down these steep slopes.
I mean, they have to meet the standards, otherwise we'll send them back here. So if they can go up to 10% in our regulations.
But if they have to do substantial cuts, is that something that we should be?
Or fill.
Well, yeah, that we should be looking at and putting.
Didn't we just have another?
We have asked other
It's not
applicants.
uncommon for us to ask that.
We have asked in the past for other applicants to show us that you can
It was
construct
last
a less than 10% driveway into the site with your cuts as you need here, because I'm reading the elevations, it's going from 510 to 520 to 530. I mean, you're 20-foot elevation change from the well radius. Now you're up to 540 at the house lot, so you keep gaining as you're going up into the site, so you're gonna have to prove or reconfigure on your lot, obviously. But you've proved that you can fit everything in, that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that can't.
We don't
You
necessarily-
want to see that before.
No, we don't necessarily require that you show us where the house goes. You have to show us that you can get to a spot where you want to build a house with a driveway that is 10% or less.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for us to ask for that.
Right,
We did it with a two-lot subdivision.
We just
Right,
did
yeah,
it.
last meeting, yeah.
Right.
So
So I would
it's
think
something
you-
you want to see, it's nothing
Yes.
that can be
I think you
said
should
to
show us a,
show through,
show us
okay.
a driveway profile or a cut
Yes,
that
we will.
shows you can get up to the
We
lot.
could impose requirements on erosion controllers.
The other thing that I've brought up multiple times is that these driveways that feed downgrade into the town road system, I want to be sure that when you work with Public Works, that you control the water that's
Correct.
coming out of the site. Whether you're going to install driveway drains with stone check dams, whatever your engineering comes up with, that DPW will approve of, because I'm reading there, you only have a 15-inch culvert that runs under the road there. It's going to kind of probably collect the water from that driveway. And want to make sure that you don't overload
Correct.
that one
Go
culvert.
through that, make sure that.
Well, you're going to show that to DPW, not us.
Yeah.
Well, but do we
And
need?
it's something, again. is
You
it
wanna see it
something
on the plan, Jim?
She can handle it, staff, or do you want to come
No,
back and see it physically? Or show it to you?
We
That's-
like to have it in the approval as before us, don't we, Collis?
Oh, yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
So you think you're going to have to submit that?
Yeah,
We're
so-
approving a plan.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that means we would continue this to the next meeting, I assume? I don't know
Or
how long.
the meeting after that. right?
Well, that's,
Well, this should be pretty quick.
Yeah,
it
right.
should- This should be easy.
I was just talking about the question, the point that Jim brought up at the beginning of the meeting about whether or not we want to load up on August 12th.
well, but that could be a quick approval.
If we discuss the merits of the
Yeah.
site and exclude the driveway profile, we could act on the driveway profile
But
solely.
does
out
that
of-
give Bob time to get it in before, for the next meeting?
And when
2
would
weeks.
it be submitted for the,
That's gonna be in.
No,
5 days before?
a week.
no, it's gotta be, no.
The next meeting, you're talking about the September
Yeah.
meeting.
September 20th.
No,
No,
I
no,
was
no,
talking,
no,
I was
August.
talking August.
Yeah.
The first meeting
Yeah.
in August, which is the 12th.
Well,
So it's usually
All right, I have to relook up that date.
a week and a couple days.
like, start working on it
It
tomorrow.
would be
Bob.
like a week from tomorrow.
So it would be the 26th, it would be Monday.
So
For the,
August 12th is our next meeting,
the
it's on our
submittal.
agenda.
is that
So the packets will go out like the 5th?
So we need it the Monday
So
prior,
you-
which is the 26th.
And we do not have a second meeting in August.
No,
okay,
we
so you
don't.
need it the 26th of this month?
Yeah.
As in Monday.
Is that enough time, or do you want?
If you don't mind waiting a couple more weeks, you can come to the meeting first meeting in September. Everybody wants instant gratification, I'm sorry, but the process is the
I
process.
understand, so you want it for the first meeting in September?
That's, if that's your choice, unless you can
So
make
the
this.
meeting is
August
the
12th.
12th.
There's no way.
And the packet deadline is
Thursday night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I keep saying Monday. Forget the date. It's Monday.
There goes your weekend.
Can we go to the first meeting in September then?
I think it could be like the
Unfortunately, I'm
29th.
gonna have
If you
to-
got us it by then, between
Okay.
Friday.
Okay.
Let's open the
That-
public hearing.
we're
then
gonna
we can
do that.
Continue
We're getting
this
there.
and
Sarah,
the
I know,
issues
it's
then.
late.
And I just talked it over and said the 29th, would that work? For
So it'll be next
submission,
Thursday.
For the 29th for the
Yeah.
next meeting? I
which
can-
is a week from today.
It's a smaller.
I believe I can do
review.
that.
July 29th, you're talking.
Yeah.
Hey, Don't crank on our side if you want to wait.
Because we have a full agenda,
Yeah.
so.
So we'll be waiting till the end?
Oh,
most
yeah.
likely.
Don't overpromise and underdeliver.
If you wanna
No,
go-
well, you'll
if you wanna
be
go to
old
September,
business,
give
but-
some cushion.
Right, there's
are we
3 other
talking about? A meeting
applications
July
on there
29th.
already.
What,
That's not a meeting.
No,
it's
that was the
submittal.
submission date.
Oh.
Submission date, yeah.
You wanna sit through?
what, you didn't get invited, Phil?
No, you don't.
Hide it.
All right, fellas, we're gonna pause things here for a second. We're gonna open the public hearing for comments from the public.
And you can ponder the
You
continuation.
can sit right where you are, unless somebody comes here to speak from the public, which I don't see anybody stepping up.
There's people here.
So is no one here to speak at this time?
Oh, my neighbors must like me.
Okay, so we're gonna close the public hearing for this evening. Okay, so at this
I'm
point,
gonna move we continue with 2, and he's gonna tell us when.
well, Jim, if we're gonna try and make it a short meeting for them, do we want to discuss any other issues on this plan tonight?
Are there any other issues to discuss, I guess? Yeah, don't cut me off. I mean, cut me off so we can. I didn't see any.
And he's representing the septic is just missing from the plan, but.
Well, I think when we get a new,
Right,
maybe you
yeah.
could bring
Right.
back,
You can throw that on.
Yeah.
I think you can get that submitted.
Yeah.
Oh, on the parent parcel too?
Yeah.
So is the driveway the main, the
The
main
dri-
concern, right?
Accessibility to the
Yeah.
driveway to the site
Yeah.
is our main concern, right?
Yeah.
But they should show the 4K area on the plan.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
And then if you move stuff around on your lot after the fact, that's you and the building department. That's not us.
Okay, and just prove out a conceptual that it can go, and
Just as
then
long as you prove that it
whatever the
fits.
final
That's
is.
right,
Okay.
That's our standard.
And don't come back later saying that you can't make it work when you go to construct.
I think Earl would be back for that, no.
And duly noted that, NFPA requirements over 300 feet. So if that
Correct.
driveway's over 300 feet, you have a whole new standard.
Correct.
So if you're gonna make it shorter than 300 feet, yeah,
We
okay.
dealt with that on
And then,
Mr. Tibbetts a few years ago.
DPW does come out and check the grade, so it will be certified that the grade is 10% or less, or will not be accepted.
Okay, I'm gonna renew my motion then, and Bob's gonna tell us the date to fill in at the end of the blank.
Go ahead, Jim, give us the motion, and Bob will fill in the blanks.
We're going to, I move we continue this until,
The August
12.
meeting.
The August 12th meeting.
August 12th, you want to be on the agenda, August 12th?
Correct. Submission the 29th.
You want to, okay.
I'll second it.
8/12. Second made by Jim, second by Karen. Everybody wants to go home, I know. All right, any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of continuing this to 8/12/21, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Yeah, Kimberly voted in there? Okay, we'll see you on the 21st. If you had to sit through the whole laundromat story.
The 12, not the
12.
21st.
21.
Adjourn.
That's right. I got the 21's
It's been a long
going.
night all around.
Motion to adjourn.
Wait, do we have anything else to do?
Bill's made I have one question for Joanne before the motion to adjourn. Joanne, were you able to contact the Ice Cream Here sign owner?
I did. I sent him an email and told him the board's concerns. And he asked me for copies of all of the minutes, which I did send. And I haven't heard anything since that time.
So in your opinion, is there any defense in the minutes for him?
Can I say something?
Go ahead, Barbara, please.
I wasn't at the last meeting, but I have to admit that when I read the minutes, I was surprised and taken aback. Because I think that we have an applicant, business owner in town that was spoken very badly of in public without any basis, and I was at the meetings that he came before the board for. And I'm not sure where we're going, because we already talked about the sign issue, and I thought that got put to bed. That's in a previous meeting minutes. And the approval for that site was for landscape and retail. He always made representations that there was going to be a shop in that building. So I don't understand what we're talking about here.
Well, the discussion was were there multiple uses on one lot. That was the central issue.
I don't understand what the multiple issues are, because what we approved was landscape, a landscape company with the sale of product outside and inside. That's what was approved.
I think the discussion centered around the statements made by the applicant that they were not going to advertise the sale of ice cream.
All right, so now we're back to the sign issue. I have a little thing on the sign issue that I brought that I can distribute to the board at another time. It's sort of late. We can't control the content of digital signs. I was at that meeting when he came back because the question was it a material change? There was the issue of the drive-up window, which we said, no, you're going to have to come back, and I think in the zoning you would have needed to get conditional use for the drive-up window.
It was actually a walk-up window.
Oh, it was a walk-up, that's
Yeah.
right, because we didn't talk about conditional use. It was a walk-up window. Frankly, I thought the board gave him an incredibly hard time about the walk-up window, and I think I was the one that said, well, if he sells it inside, do we have any jurisdiction over it? And the clear consensus of the board was that we would not have, if he wanted to sell it inside, that was an issue with him and the building department or health department or whatever he wanted to do, because he was approved for retail sale. And there was a question about whether or not he was going to have a sign for the ice cream. And what he said was he wasn't going to put up any separate sign for the ice cream. And he hasn't.
Well then, okay.
So I don't know what we're talking about. And I think you just went down a path, because there are lots of establishments we can go into in town who sell stuff inside that you may or may not think was
Okay,
with approved use.
I concur with what you're saying, but I think the error was in our part for not being specific enough as to what we were going to allow him to sell ice cream without his advertising of selling for ice cream. And we made a statement, and if he's not hanging a sign on the building, then he's in compliance with the statements.
I mean, and I think this
And
leads...
then when you get into electronic signs, now this is another whole discussion.
Right. I mean, I think you can have another discussion validly on this board that we should ask the chair and Joanne to submit a request or take a look at the department for a request for the next budget in regards to whether or not we need another enforcement person, because I will tell you that this discussion caused me to go down Mass Road to look at signs. And I can tell you there are a plethora of signs that we have not approved as part of any commercial or even residential use on buildings up and down 114 and 114A, to include huge banners on the side of buildings. And years ago, if we were doing sign, monitoring, we used to have a building code enforcement who did it. And what would happen is, and Joanne recalled this because I asked her about it, the signs would all, the extra signs would all go up on Friday night, Saturday morning, and on Monday morning they'd be gone. Because the code enforcement officer would go around and tell people to take the signs in. We now do zoning enforcement by complaint, which I think is a horrendous practice. And I think that there should be consideration of a change in the staffing. So that's my comment on that. And then for another meeting, because it's late, I saw the discussion on the development regs that went on. I think there should be a budget request to hire somebody to work on our development regs and zoning ordinance, because we're not going to be able to do it piecemeal the way we've been doing it. So.
Okay, we'll put that as an item for discussion in a future meeting.
Plenty of time to get in the budget.
All right, so Phil made a motion to adjourn.
Can we request Patty will tell us, remind us to bring in
Yes, thank you for
packets?
bringing that, Jim.
Joanne said she'd been here all day. I've been up since 5. I'm
I got up
tired
at 4.
and I'm cranky,
Yeah.
so, it doesn't fly. We gotta, and we're doing this.
We used to have everything we needed in our packet every meeting, even if it had to be duplicated.
Or tell us
so
what
I
to bring.
talked to Patty about
Don't assume
that.
we'll remember.
And, the first time you get the plans and the application, the applicant submits to us. And Patty makes copies of the staff comments, the minutes, and the agenda. But when someone gets continued, and it may not be for the next meeting, it may be a while out, that means that she has to do all that copying. And
All I'm asking is she reminds us what meetings this was heard at, because I keep my packets for 2 years in a pile, so.
You do?
Just
Not 7 years?
to not get to it.
I finally threw away 8 years of packets.
So we can bring them in, but I don't remember when these were. I'm not gonna think of it. I'm at 5 in the morning, I'm getting ready for work, so.
So I would request that in future agendas, when we get our agenda in the mail, in our packet, that Patty remind us to bring old information with.
Yeah, just the
And-
date
it.
from the.
And what dates?
Yeah, what
Okay.
date.
Yeah, supply the date so we can go digging in the pile of paper in the recycling bin and get
She
'em out.
always, just for your own information, she always does provide the dates if something's been continued. It'll say like
I know,
this
but
one.
when she
But
sends
it's
out
also-
the reminder, she needs to
Okay.
say,
But the-
Bring packets.
bring,
But the continuations could be like 5 continuations. So, I mean, how far back do you start digging? Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, Jim. I know everybody wants to go home.
So I had a follow-up question. Does everyone save their packets?
Yeah,
For
go
a
look
period
in
of
my
time,
office.
yeah.
They're about
Okay.
this friggin' high.
Okay.
I don't save them that one. I've got,
I actually used to pull stuff out and put it aside, but I'm gonna have to get a porter now to come to the meeting with me to bring all this.
Okay, motion's been made, I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded for adjournment. All those in favor say aye.
I,
All those against?
Where it came from.
Okay.
Has
Thank
anybody
you
ever
all.
been against a